That wasn't pretty, was it, to say the least? Welcome, guys, to what may be the most emotionally raw stream possible. That was horrifying in every sense of the word. I hope you guys are doing okay. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving weekend. I hate to be in this position where we came into this game saying, look, if the Eagles are going to make the playoffs, if they're going to do anything this season, this has to be the identity game. And this time last week, we came on a live stream and I was like, do you know what? If it was a trap game last week, after that Seattle loss, this was like Tomb Raider 3, all right? This had to be a win. There's no other way. This is the biggest opportunity the Eagles had. They've got the easiest schedule for the remainder of the season. They are facing a 2-9 Dolphins team. They then take a monumental lead going into the third quarter. Even though the offense is stifling a bit, even though they got away from the run, even though there were some questionable decisions and some dodgy catches and misses throughout, they were in a position to win. And then the defense go and let out, 20 unanswered points to begin with. I don't even know where you begin finger pointing here, but we've got to have a change today, because normally it's just me sat here ranting, shouting at you guys, but I want to shake things up. So if you are in our Discord server, there is a channel on there called Waiting Room. What we're going to do is bring a few of you in throughout the show, just to vent, as long as you're PG and you're not swearing and effing and jeffing, because we can't be having that, alright? You guys have long voiced that you want to get on the show and get involved in these streams. We're going to try and give you a chance to do that. So if you join our Discord, if you're not already, I will bring you an invite. It's free to do so. Let me just drop it in the live chat right here. We'll take a look at what you guys are saying. Hey, Brandon, thanks for tuning in, my man. I don't even know where we begin with this. I really, really don't. I mean, I guess the logical starting point is Carson Wentz, since he is the quarterback, and he wasn't great, but he wasn't bad. He seemed to have like a Gatorade in the fourth quarter and do something, which was a start. But he was let down on a key pass by Zach Ertz. He was let down on a few other opportunities. Not to say that he was any better, though. You know, I don't think he was significantly better than what we saw last week. And it hit a point when the Dolphins started creeping back into the game where the Eagles were just so intent on flinging that ball down the field. And it felt like when you go down in Madden and you start trying to do 4 verticals every play, it felt like that. It was just abysmal. Hey, Isaac. Hey, Patrick. Hey, Christian. Hey, all of you guys in the chat. We're going to bring on Geordi first, because I kind of did Geordi a disservice last week. We couldn't work out how to get him in the Discord video. So he's kind of already got priority here. So we'll bring Geordi in. Give me 2 seconds to see how this works. If you can't hear him with their audio problems, do let me know, because I'm not sure how well this is going to work. Only time will tell. But Geordi, I think he's in. Geordi, welcome to the stream. How you doing, man? Oh, see, we got tech difficulties straight away. It's not what you want to see. We'll leave him here for a bit. It's okay. We'll let them figure his mic out if it's that. If not... Oh, he's got it. He's here. Geordi, how are you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
I've been a bit better. It's not going well, is it, tonight? I mean, how are you feeling with regards to the Eagles right now?
It's not looking good.
No. I mean, for lack of a better... I mean, is there something that stands out as being, the most frustrating point from this loss to you?
The personnel decision.
Yeah?
So, between with what they've been doing with wide receivers, changing everybody out every week, I get there's injuries, but there's a problem.
Yeah, and I think straight away that the biggest thing that we noticed was that during the week, Doug Peterson stated that J.J. Arcega-Whiteside would be starting outside opposite Alshon Jeffrey, and within just a few snaps, it was Greg Ward and Nelson Aguilar back in the slot. And then you've got Matt Collins bringing up a costly penalty on what would have been a massive play. So I totally agree with that. You had Jason Peters jumping off sides for a bit as well. There was just a state, I think, all over the place. Like from top to bottom of the offense, I don't think there was anyone that stood out as being good. And even like Zach Ertz, had plays that were left up in the air. You had Alshon Jeffrey in a similar boat as well. But yeah, is there anything else on your mind at all about this team that's really bothering you right now?
The defense fell apart.
Yeah, that wasn't good. That definitely wasn't good at all, was it? I mean, I think, talking defense really quickly then, obviously cornerbacks were a big topic today, and I think this is the first game this season where we look at it and say, do you know what? There aren't excuses anymore. Like, we can't say there wasn't safety help. We can't say it was a scheme. We can't say it was X, Y, or Z. It was literally just a case of the corners were in a position to make a play, and they didn't every single time. It was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't good at all. Thanks for coming on, Geordi. Is there anything else you want to pop out while you're in the stream? As long as it's family friendly. We can't be having, naughty things. All right, man. Right, listen, I'll put you back in the waiting room and we'll bring in our next guest. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thanks, Geordi. There we go. Oh, I feel like a radio DJ doing this. All right, let's bring on. He's called Ward Season in Discord. I'm going to go through a different alias elsewhere, but I think you're going to have some strong opinions. Let's see how you're feeling. I mean, are you okay to talk? Are you all right?
You're with the strong opinions here, aren't you? Okay.
I know. I want to see what's brewing. I feel like I am everyone's Eagles therapist at this stage.
Okay, so, I mean, just hold on. Let me mute you in the stream real quick.
See. Tactical.
So I think to start out here, and you said you didn't really know who to blame here. Who do you point fingers at for this game? If you could pick one group, so whether it be, let's make it easy for you, coaching, offense, defense.
I think it's a little from everything at the end of the day. I think you can easily point at the coaching staff and Jim Schwartz and say, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? What were the play calls? Like, the pass rush was there in the first quarter, then disappeared. Could you have made some adjustments? Especially when you're seeing Devontae Parker do that much damage constantly. He was the only one doing anything until Mike Gesicki woke up. Doing something to take him out of the game, like doubling him up or putting bracket coverage on him, something to at least nullify his impact of it and get Fitzpatrick off his first read. You can make that argument. I think on offense, you can make the argument of why all of a sudden did the Eagles get away from the run? Like, surely this is a team that is built to run the ball. We've said this for weeks now, that they're built to run the ball. And out of nowhere, with a fairly strong lead that was up to 2 possessions and beyond at one point, they get away from it, and you end up with 19 rushing attempts and 46 pass attempts, and way too many rollouts. I don't know where this rollout thing came from, or why it's been implemented, or why it was every other play, but that wasn't great. And then I think you go on players and execution. The cornerbacks weren't great. I think you had some stupid penalties across the board. The receivers left some plays on the table. It's a bit of everything. It was just sloppy, and for lack of a better word, I think complacent would be the only way to describe it.
Yeah. Now, I'd have to go back and look into it more, but you were complaining about the rollouts.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, I feel like that was a major thing in 2017 where Wentz seemed to perform well under the rollouts, where he liked to move and sort of control the way the defense looked. I don't think the rollouts were the issue per se.
But do you not think that surely that'd be more effective if you could run the ball and at least get them to commit to that first? Like, instead of it being dead obvious that you're just... I don't know. To me, I don't know. I get what they were trying to do, and it makes sense that they're trying to finally open up the offense for Wentz and maybe tailor it around him as opposed to the receivers and things like that. But I do think that it probably had the inverse effect against a team that were putting out 7 defensive backs, dropping defensive tackles into coverage to try and knock him off his perch. I don't think they expected the Miami Dolphins to be this up for a fight. That is the only way to put it. Like, against another team, maybe they would have got away with it. But this was a Miami team that wanted to play spoiler, that wanted to just throw a spanner in the works. And maybe that was the counterpunch to it.
Yeah, I'm sort of looking at it in the way, I know I started with this question about, who do you blame? I think this game is probably, 80% on the coaching staff, and that includes both offensive and defensive.
Right.
Because, we start very first drive, we get an awesome wheel route, Sanders scores. It's sort of like the typical offense. Sanders is our offense at this point.
Sure.
But then, after that drive, Sanders was non-existent in the passing game. I don't think did we throw to him any more after the first drive?
Let me just check the box score, because I don't actually know how often he was targeted. So I've got it up here. He was targeted 5 times after that. So not on a wheel route, but he was targeted 5 times. So he was in the passing game, but he wasn't, obviously as prominent as before.
Okay, yeah, because it didn't sound... from just listening to the game and watching it didn't seem like Sanders was involved as much as he was in the first drive. I feel like the coaching staff likes to step on their own feet, where they're like, oh, this works, let's try something different. They sort of don't seem to stick with the same plan for whatever reason.
And I think that goes back to abandoning the run as well. For God's sake, Miles Sanders was averaging, by the end of the game, 4.9 yards per carry. Their run defense is ranked 31st in the NFL. it's simple arithmetic. You don't need Pro Football Focus. You don't really need game film to be able to say, hey, we've got a good running back that's getting a lot of yards against a bad defense that can't stop him. We've got a lead. Let's protect it and run the ball. Why that went away, I don't know, and why they tried to use I get the tight end screens are cool and stuff like that, but it just felt, I think you're right, that they were trying to do too much or almost getting too cute at times.
Yeah, and I think what caused that is I think the trick play in like the fourth down with the Dolphins, I think that threw the entire coaching staff for a loop at that point.
Yeah, and it's 3-3 as well. It's 3 in 3 weeks that they've had, and I think there's going to naturally be that hesitation as to what's going on. Like, that's a mental aspect at that point. If you give up 3 trick plays in 3 weeks, everyone on that team is looking at each other like, what are we doing? Like this is the Dolphins now. Like, what's going on? And that was a state, and I think they knew that. That's why they started with an onside kick in the second half. And they were just trying to like mentally mess with them. I think, get them to second guess every decision they made in a way, and it worked, which is the most annoying thing.
Yeah. And Lee, do you mind if I address your chat a little bit here? Just sort of do like you do where you read off some questions of theirs.
Go on, go for it.
And so get my input. So where I saw it here, I see a lot of people addressing the corners and saying needing new corners. I think looking at it, I don't think our corners are as bad as we thought they were. I think the scheme has definitely changed, especially in like the last 3 weeks, where Schwartz is allowing them to play more aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
So I obviously there needs to be some sort of change at corners. But I don't think Mills especially is as bad as we originally thought him to be. He's an aggressive corner, and now that Schwartz is allowing him to be more aggressive, I feel like he's made up for it. This game was interesting, though, because there's definitely a lot more, I guess, not pass interference, but it was more handsy.
Yeah, and do you know what?
Mills is just small.
I don't think that was bad. I mean, a lot of people, I know there is a very strong anti-Mills hive, which I get, like I'm all for it, especially last year. And I think coming off last week where people are, he was like one of PFF's like worst graded corners or whatever. I know he gave up a lot of plays. I know there are a lot of flags, but the fact that he is aggressive around it, the fact he's even in the vicinity of the catch point at this point is an improvement, right? Let's acknowledge that he's not 30 yards down the field on his arse. He's actually up front trying to make a play. And his hands are in the right place. Like the touchdown he gave up at the end, his hand was spearing through the catch point to try and jar it loose. He's got the right idea. He's just not got the ability of a lockdown corner or a bigger corner. He was given, and again, this is why I'm saying this week, I don't think it's on the scheme. I don't think it's on the coaching staff. They've given the corners free reign to do whatever. Darby was picked on constantly against Parker, who Darby is a smaller, quicker cornerback, so they just boxed him out. That was what Alshon Jeffrey should be doing to corners, like using your body to leverage, space at the top of the route and get him out of the way. I think Darby was bad for them, but we've said that since day one, and I'm not going to sit here for the millionth week in a row and say I told you so. But Jalen Mills, I don't want to defend it. I was going to do a film room at the end of this week, and I was like, I'll wait for the end of this game and see how we go. I don't think he was as bad as Twitter's going to make out, because there's an immediate knee-jerk reaction to Mills gives up a play, Mills does this, Mills does that. I don't think he was that, but in terms of technique, it's better. He's just not a great corner, which is what we've known since day one. He's going to be limited, and they took a sting out of that.
Yeah, I think what hurts Mills the most is that he's opposite of Darby. So Mills is the best corner right now, but we need someone taller and a bit more physical. Because then if you would have put Mills in Darby's spot, I think Mills would have played fine. After they ended up switching, I think it was in the second half, Mills ended up going to Parker and Darby went to whoever else was left.
Yeah.
And I think if you had a taller corner to match with Mills, I think Mills would be fine. But the fact that he has to play alongside Darby, I think hurts Mills more than people make it out to actually be.
I want to look at the film, because I've always had the opinion that Mills and Darby are the worst possible combination for each other, because, and I guess it's changed a little bit in the last few weeks, but it's been the same story since they were originally paired together, where one cornerback is very fast, very good in man coverage, and will take your receiver out of the game vertically, right? Which is what Darby does most of the time. The downside is he's got no strength and can't tackle. So he's going to get bullied off of routes very easily, especially in breaking ones. And if he can't close over the top and get a hand, then he's going to get attacked. And more importantly, anything underneath, the screens and running backs, he can't make tackles and he gets hurt. And I've said that since day one. The other side of it, Jalen Mills, you've got someone that's very aggressive, that will gamble on himself all the time, makes a lot of tackles, but isn't as great in man coverage and will bite on or previously bet on double moves a lot more and would never be aggressive at the catch point. So it was more pick your poison. It's like, if you want to go deep down the field, you attack Jalen Mills. If you want to go underneath, you attack Darby. And that's been the case for ages. And that's on the coaching staff to not improve that. Or, like we're now looking at a group of cornerbacks, and I really don't want to put this on Corey Undlin, but Sidney Jones' experiment has failed. Avonte Maddox has been invisible for pretty much the whole year. Cravon LeBlanc has only just come back today, so we can leave him out on that for now. And then you've got Mills and Darby, who I don't think have developed since joining the Eagles. And I don't think that's, apart from Mills having like a late, since he's returned, he's now not being toasted every game. Like, there's no fundamental improvement in Darby's play that I've seen. There's no fundamental improvement in the play of Sidney Jones that I've seen. He's just gradually got more used to the game, and the play speed seems to have got better with him. So that's and I think if you're looking to fire someone, which I think is now Eagles fans are right, you drop this game to the Dolphins, there has to be a move. I can very easily see it being a positional coach, like a Carson Walsh. Like, for crying out loud, that's got to be target number one. I think for the wide receivers coach, that has to be target number one. But there may be a surprise because they've got to set a tone at this point, the same way they tried with the players from the 2019 free agents. So I don't know. It's a mess all round. But yeah, the corners are definitely a weird position to analyze.
Yeah, and I'll sort of leave this with my last point here. And I don't know how much you read the Eagles chat, but you probably saw me going on a rant about it earlier. I think almost the entire coaching staff, and the entire staff, anywhere from Howie all the way down to just single positional coaches, have a chance of losing. Not, I guess, at least the higher staff don't have a chance of losing their job, but at least losing some of their, I guess, control. I think Howie is a great cap person. He is awesome with the numbers, but ever since we lost Joe Douglas, I feel like we suffered in free agency. This year, the free agency was bad, and then the draft was iffy. I think Howie needs better scout people. I mean, we had this discussion before, though, to a degree, didn't we? And I mean, a little bit. I don't think we want this. No, though. That in itself with the draft, but it's hard to grade a draft after 1 year. I think naturally you want to have 3 years for a player to settle in. That's why now the Sidney Jones experiment, we can say, right, this isn't working. Year one, Andre Dillard was meant to sit. Miles Sanders, we knew was never going to be a starting running back straight away. The only disappointment has been JJ Arcega-Whiteside and Clayton Thorson, who no one really expected to amount to anything, especially after a certain other North Dakota State quarterback went off the board. So that draft in itself, that needs time to kind of pan out. But I agree. I think that this season, especially when the expectation was that high, given how good and elite the roster looked on paper, you're going to have sort of question marks raised across the board. Yeah. Because then I think, and I hate to criticize Doug, especially after 2017 and everything, but based on the offense, I don't think Doug should lose his head coaching position. Oh, no. I think his offensive ability should be limited to where if we need to get a better offensive coach and then give them majority control on the offense. I don't know who. Yeah. Because we don't know the entire blame of how much of it's Groh, how much of it's Doug when it comes to play calling. Right. Obviously, Groh needs to go 100%, but I think Doug should lose his play calling ability, or at least an extent of his play calling. That's a really hard argument to kind of hit again, because we don't know who's got the major influence and who's scripting what and who's making each play. Yeah. There are times where Doug Peterson's brilliance shines. Like the other game against the Patriots, where I know they ultimately lost, but there was a period where it was toe-to-toe, like Belichick and Peterson are just trying to outwit each other, and it was brilliant. And he does put players in positions to make plays, they're just not executing. You can lead a horse to water, you can't make it drink. And I think that's something we have to recognise here, that Peterson, realistically, outside of a few shoddy calls or things that I struggle to understand aggression-wise, has done a good job of setting the team up for success. If Ertz is going to drop passes, if Wentz is going to miss open passes, the coach can't run on and catch the pass for them. That's where I think we have to be a bit more, rational for now. Peterson's going nowhere, realistically. I think the ultimate change would come in the way of an offensive coordinator or something like that to begin with. And I think you had a good idea there. You said, the coaches can't come in and catch them off. I think we should suit Doug Peterson up for a game. It can't be any worse. It can't be any worse at this point.
But listen,
him in over Matt Collins.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, hey, even I would go in over Matt Collins at this point. So you know,
I mean, you look about the same. So
true, but I also draw just as many penalties. So it's a two in the throw. But thanks for coming on, man. I'm gonna give one of the other guys a shot now, but I'm sure he'll be sticking around.
I understand. My welcome.
No, don't be silly. No, not at all. I just want to try and make sure we get as many people on as possible.
Yep.
Awesome.
Good day, Liam.
Talk to you soon, man. And there we go. Right, okay, so we're going to have a little bit of a YouTube chat, because I feel like I'm ignoring you guys and I feel bad. And then we're going to bring someone else in. If you want to join, so if you're in the Discord server, on the channels bit on the left-hand side, scroll right to the bottom, there's a bit that says waiting room. If you go in there, it's like a lovely little lobby for you all to chat, and I will bring you down into the big radio studio thing as soon as you're around. But let's read what you guys are saying. We've got Mike D saying, I'd trade a McDonald's Happy Meal for Hollins, only if it's a chicken nugget one. All right, I don't want any of these cheeseburger stuffs happening. I hope Olshan isn't back. I mean, there was an article come out recently, I think it was from Joe Banner, like a question to obviously former Eagles GM with Philly Voice saying he doesn't think Olshan and Deshaun Jackson are going to come back. I think they'll keep Jackson. They're going to try and draft a replacement, but it's hard to shift Alshon Jeffrey now purely because of the contract you've guaranteed him, which isn't great at this point. You've guaranteed his salary next year, so for a team that's constantly fighting against the cap and making all these wonderful long-term moves, suddenly getting rid of a player you've just guaranteed next year's salary for doesn't make a lot of sense. Tom Whitehouse says Sarnas has improved a lot. I look forward to his peak potential. Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think he's definitely flashing on a week-on-week basis. Hazmatic Chaos, I hope I've said that right, says we need a deep threat that isn't old AF and DBs that can cover. Totally agree. Stack Mode says Antonio Brown, but with brow in capitals, so maybe just, Antonio Eyebrow, who knows. Ertz drop was a massive swing. That's from T9 Con. Yeah, I totally agree with that. That really did, I think, suck the life out of the offense. Brandon says, Liam, I'm under Lind2315 in the room. Okay, cool. So we've got... Oh, cool. Wow, the room's filling up. Right, let's bring on... Who was here? I think Isaac was here the longest. We'll bring in Isaac first, then I think it's Christian. We've got a whole queue. Don't worry, you're all coming on. I'll be here till like 3 in the morning. Don't you worry. Let's bring on Christian. So Christian... Oh, no, I was going to bring in... Oh, no, I bought the wrong one. It's okay, everything's fine. Christian, are you there? The microphone's muted. It's baby steps. This is all new technology, you see. We're working with this. So while we see if Christian can unmute his mic... Oh, is he muted it or have I muted it? Okay, he's muted it. All right. Oh, he's gone. Okay, right, that's not good. Is he back? Let's try again. Hello? No, he's gone. All right, okay, right. Step 2, don't you worry. All right, guys, we're going to get there. See, this is it. I try and get you involved, and this is the fun we have. Right, let's try Isaac. Isaac, are you there? This is going well. This is going about as well as the Eagles' offense did. Okay, Isaac's not there. That's not good. Right, let's try Brandon. Brandon, are you there? Is this how radio shows work? Because I swear, I've got a newfound respect for Sports Talk Radio trying to get all through these callers. This is stressful. Brandon, is your microphone on? Oh.
I just turned mine on.
There we go, right. It's working. Brandon, how are you doing?
What's up, William?
I'm not too bad. I'm surviving. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. I had to take the live stream off of my phone for a minute, so I don't got 2 voices going on in the background, so I can actually hear you live and feed. So I don't hear your past voice, but
that's all right. No, it's a rock and a hard place. It's one of those things. We're baby stepping. It's okay.
Yeah, it's new. It's good. I like it though. I've been following you for quite a while. You're one of my favorite guys on YouTube to watch about the Eagles and everything. Agree on a lot of points. So trying to get this 37 points from the Dolphins in my head right now from what the defense did.
Yeah, firstly, thank you for the kind words, because I'm going to cry in a little bit. So thank that, honestly, man, that really does mean a lot to me. But I'm sure we're going to go from tears of happiness to sadness really quickly. So what's on your mind defensively?
Well, like I said, I think one of my – well, no, I don't think you've seen the initial comment when I first came in, but I was thinking for what the defense was doing, it oddly seemed enough that it was a resemblance to week 1 of 2018. Fitzmagic, quote unquote, as he was in Tampa Bay, lit us up with Deshaun Jackson, and those same 2 corners on the outside were getting burnt left and right. It didn't matter who was covering Deshaun; they just let him go. And thankfully, they didn't have to deal with Chris Godwin or Mike Evans that day either, because they got torched. at that point in the beginning of the season, Nick Foles coming in and him giving the reins over to Wentz. But going to this season, I'm trying to get it in my head how you only give up a total that was 1 point less to better teams in Seattle and New England, and you give up 37 to the Dolphins, where you only give up 17 and 19 to the Patriots and Seahawks. I'm trying to wrap my head around it.
The only thing I can think of, especially second half, is that Ryan Fitzpatrick has this tendency to just kind of not really have an awareness of game situation and just sling it regardless. And whether the Eagles forgot that or no, or whether it was just Devontae Parker beasting everyone and Fitzpatrick continuing to go with what works, I think that was just from an initial look, a general sense of complacency. I don't think anyone expects a 2-9 team to fight the way they do, but then there's that thing of you don't see many 0-16 teams in the NFL. You've got bad teams, but these are professional football players. Yes, they're paid a lot of money. They're not paid to go out and lose. They want to win. There's a reason they've got the drive that gets them that far. And eventually there's that sense of pride. You don't want to be beaten into the ground and embarrassed each and every week. I think they probably realised that the Eagles are going to come in and try and lay it all on them to make a point and find their identity. And maybe the Dolphins punched back a little bit harder and it caught the defense off guard. They spent a lot of time on the field. They shouldn't have done at all. The offense should have controlled that game a lot better. And ultimately, they were punished by the floundering Dolphins offense. It's hard to make a lot of sense of it from any aspect, really.
No, and I think going back to the fact that these teams with these lower records, that's when you're looking at the Dolphins, who are the youngest team in football, that's part of the growing pains to a group of kids at this stage, just in that developmental stage, and they're trying to grow together.
Yeah,
a quarterback and a new head coach and the coordinator, and they're trying to figure everything out. And it also showed to me that Jim Schwartz didn't really try to figure anything out after the first couple of series on defense, where he pretty much had Fitzpatrick rolled up in a bag and locked him up tight to where he couldn't do anything. And the wide 9 set that he was running on that defensive front, it was working against Seattle. But the thing is, Miami was able to adjust in the end. And like in a game of chess, it's your move versus my move. Which one is better strategically? And Jim just could not capitalize to keep the Miami offense, or the Miami offense on their toes, to know that we were the 4th ranked running defense in football coming into this game. And we were progressively getting better in the past. I think we were ranked about 16th through 18th. So you lose in that aspect. And I've been thinking this. I haven't been saying it. I've been thinking this for quite some time. I'm trying to understand what Doug Peterson is trying to do from an offensive standpoint, because I think he's trying to showcase Carson's arm a little too much, to where he thinks maybe Nick Foles is still under center for this team. Because, whether people like it or not, for the people in the fan base that want Nick Foles back, in case you didn't know, he was benched today after his first game back for the Jaguars for Gardner Minshew, who had his Minshew magic with his mustache and all that going on. That was a fad earlier in the season. But Foles ends up getting benched. He had 2 fumbles. He lost one that was returned for a touchdown.
Yeah.
So, I just don't get it at this point for that aspect. You're basically what I said earlier. It feels like Carson is getting handcuffed to the pocket. They're trying to showcase his arm. I understand he's a gunslinger and everything. He can launch a football, no doubt. I love his arm talent, but him trying to focus too much on working all the pass plays with different receivers coming in and out of the rotation. Alshon Jeffrey comes back and he showcases him for over 100 yards. That was all great to see. But there's still too much of an offensive confusion going on right now. You barely feature Jay Ajayi in the run game. Miles Sanders goes for almost 100 yards rushing. He has that 15-yard touchdown. Yeah, I still can't wrap my head around what they're trying to do as a scheme on offense. And I think because Doug does not have that crutch in Frank Reich anymore, there's a lot of the bearing that's going on him to make all the calls and all of the decisions. And Mike Rowe just can't keep up with him anymore. And I think I would like Mike to go back to wide receivers coach where he was best at doing, and just get and I'm going to double down on the previous person in, and just get somebody in there that's really good minded offensively.
Yeah, and I think that's something you've got to look at this season, isn't it? If there has to be a change at offensive coordinator. About defensive coordinator, I'm not sure, but I mean, something that dawned on me with the rollouts, and he said they want to try and showcase his strengths on the pocket. Whether this was just a surge of saying, all right, why was Wentz struggling last week? Was it because he was in the pocket? And there's been a lot of criticism recently from myself and obviously various other analysts and stuff that notably say his pocket presence is slipping and that it's not what it was and that he's unable to almost sense pressure and he's panicking, and his ability to get out of pressure is phenomenal. Recognizing it and making subtle adjustments isn't so much. So maybe the rollouts were an idea to take that burden off of him, just get him out away from pressure completely and let him sling it. But now you're seeing maybe a mental thing from Carson Wentz, so maybe that's on coaching staff as well. But there's a lot offensively this game that you kind of have to break down. Whether it is like you said, Ultron's return went massively under the radar. He had a very good game despite a few errors. Zach Ertz had a good game despite a few errors. It's inconsistencies across the board. And I feel like it's lackadaisical, but they were just trying too much. It felt like there was a panic, and it said they've been in that situation so many times. How many times since 2016 have they been up against a bad team and then just gradually choke and choke and choke and choke and choke and to the point of no return? And we've seen it again and again and again. And by this point, the players around that team who've experienced the Tampa Bays and the Tennessees and the Carolinas are going to get that sense of, oh God, here we go again. And it could be a mental thing for all we know, And it could be that the coaching staff aren't doing that bad. And what we are seeing is just players losing their focus and losing that concentration.
I also feel that mental concentration and just that stability that they carried from 2017 just slowly continued to deteriorate where it was so easy that season to block out all the noise and they're just focusing on what they're doing. 2018 is you're trying to flow the game between Wentz and Foles. They couldn't adjust well, and then this year we have the Orlando Scandrick episode, and we have the anonymous quote episode. just a bunch of concerning factors that really the fan base they don't get exposed to a lot of that in one season, and it was very alarming to me. Going through since week one. And I think the biggest issue that's bugging me right now is I still think Carson Wentz is getting too much heat. He's really getting heat. The dude can only do so much with the personnel he's given, the play calling behind him, the schemes going week to week. He can only do so much. And I'll stress it again. I really think they need to feature him in more runs. He's not the kind of quarterback that needs to sit in the pocket. No. Sure, they need to develop him so he can progress through his reads, if his first read, his second read is not there and whatnot. But he was able to do that at an alarming progressive rate in 2017 to where he was next to Joe Montana in the total touchdowns for the first 13 games of his season. He had 33 in under 13 games. That's success. That's success. It's so difficult to try to figure out to this day that I don't think they're having a hard time really adjusting to that. So I think I'm rambling on here.
No. I mean, to be fair, so someone in the chat saying that this guy needs to start his own Eagles talk show. He's great. So there you go. I mean, every cloud's got a silver lining, right? The Eagles may have lost, but hey, you may have found a new career. It's difficult, honestly. I think you're 100%. I mean, I've not disagreed with anything you've said, other than that. I think not that Dwayne doesn't have arm talent, but he's missing easy throws, and I think that's more mental. We know he's got the arm talent. We know he can do it, day in, day out. I think that side of it's more mental. I think there is a weight of expectation that the Eagles are falling under right now. And it's a weight of expectation from fans that have seen a Super Bowl win. They want the new norm. The Eagles couldn't harness that energy to have the targets on the back in 2018. They were very lucky to get to where they did in 2018. And had it not been for a late surge, this would have been the exact same thing again. And there were games like this. That game against New Orleans has been so reminiscent of 2 to 3 games this year where Wentz folds, the defense folds, players end up barking at each other. There's a little collapse inside. The thing that no one has mentioned, and I think I don't want to say how much or little this plays a role, but there is an Amazon documentary being filmed, right? We know that. So we know that there is a camera crew following this team, following the players around in a season where the expectation was sky high. We know what, on the roster, or on paper, how powerful the roster looked. We've seen Hard Knocks. We've seen the curse that follows that and the dramas that follow. We also know All or Nothing with the Panthers and the Cowboys, for anyone that's watched this before. It can get into a team's mind, and especially this year where you've got so much going on. Like you said, you've got the undisputed thing, you've got anonymous sources. We don't know what these Amazon camera crews are picking up. We don't know how intimate that is and how little privacy these players have, and whether there's that extra sense of, oh my god, no, that's going to be on show to everyone now. It's a tiny thing, but that dynamic can really rip into how a locker room runs.
Yeah, especially the fact that, a lot of, I'm not going to trash the knowledge or ignorance of any others, but anybody that knows football or follows football, they know how much of a responsibility a head coach has. And going back to 2017, or after the win of the Super Bowl, he's talking about this is the new norm, and I'm rotating it in my mind. I'm thinking, well, I think this is premeditated a little prematurely.
Yeah.
And you're trying to build on top of that. And let me go back to my.
I mean, isn't that becoming par for the course? Look at the Dallas game when he guaranteed a win. It's not the only time this has happened now.
No, there was a lot of occasions where I thought he was getting in over his head, and it messes with your psyche, and he's trying to look for answers in his own mind instead of really the team should continue to lean on each other like the way they did, their bond. The bond that they had their Super Bowl run, I don't think anybody could have really broken that apart.
No,
and I think no, go ahead.
No, I think with that it all. I think even 2018 to a degree as well, where because you go through adversity and you come out the other side, and you know that the coach is emotionally intelligent and you bring people together. But I think that through that, there are only so many hits you can take before you start wearing down. And you look at 2016, it happened, 2017, it happened, 2018, it happened, and now there's been more noise than ever. And it's I know that Philly has been known as being so resilient and coming back up and getting better and, always fighting back, and Rocky Balboa and all the other, stereotypes you want to put on this gritty underdog tale. But it's almost that without that, there isn't identity. Unless they are punched in the face so bad that there is blood and bruises all over, they don't have a reason. Like there's nothing pushing them to be that extra mile and to rally together. And that's the one thing that, and I don't know if this is too either outlandish or premature to say, but it's like that is their mentality, that is their persona. Like they are the underdog, and without that, as soon as that's taken away, and they become a team on the verge of creating a dynasty in a 5-year window, like the Seahawks once were, it's hard to get that back. Like you can't be the underdogs every year. You know, especially when you're Super Bowl champions, and then you lose that, and then you miraculously make the playoff 2 years in a row. Like you're looking at
exactly say like you can't go in every year with the mentality of being an underdog after having the highest success that you can have in the game of football.
Yeah,
and it's just over the past weeks. Even you can even tell in the post-game conferences, like a lot of what Doug Peterson, it's mostly Doug Peterson from what I understand, and a little bit from Mike Groh, but I pay attention to Doug Peterson the most. And what I notice in these post-game conferences, and he's giving his time to the media, it seems that a lot of what he says is more scripted than it is honesty, because it's a lot of, we got to look at ourselves in the mirror, and we got to work on changing this, and we got to work on changing that. Well, you got a number of practices going into the week before game. You got film room study going over what you did and what you didn't do. Especially, I'm not going to forget this one. I remember, I think it was during the Seattle game. It was the Seattle game and the New England game. Doug Peterson is talking about, on some of Carson's reads where he's just missing people and this and that. When all that controversy was just starting to blow up, and you got former quarterbacks that work for ESPN and Dan Orlovsky and a couple other gentlemen, and people are just going back and forth trying to, and it's just this roller coaster of, is it Wentz, is it the receivers, and until I hear Doug say, well, we got to teach Carson where to throw the football in situations. Well, that's a really big hit and miss, because it all depends on what the scheme is. And a lot of times I feel the scheme that they run under Carson is a little too similar to what Nick Foles had, because of the lack of mobility Nick has at his age now. But, back in 2013, he goes 27 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He was able to move around on the field and whatnot, and that was a fantastic year. It was. But they were under a brand new head coach in Chip Kelly, where defenses weren't used to the no huddle being run consistently to exhaust the defense. But I'm not going to put that year over Carson's 2017 Super Bowl year. I'm just not, because the feat he had in not even 13 games was unbelievable. But going back to what I was saying about Doug Peterson, it's a hit or a miss. It's very hard for me to understand. You're trying to put this quarterback. You're trying to help this quarterback succeed in a system that's not built for him. And I think one thing they need to consider in the offseason, like, you can go and take notes from the 49ers and the Baltimore Ravens as to how good they're doing right now. Yeah. And I'm going to give the Ravens credit for that 20-17 win. That was a great game. I watched it before the bonus coverage of the Eagles came on. That was a very good game. But the one thing that I heard and what I noticed between them two football programs, they built that team around the quarterback. Right. That's one of the biggest differences I've seen. They built it around the quarterback. They got the playmakers on the offensive line. And, speaking of the offensive line, we see that Brandon Brooks and Lane Johnson got those big-time extensions. Well, we all know in this fan base, the Eagles like to build from the trenches out. Mm-hmm. The trenches aren't going to do you any good if you don't run the ball. Right. The lack of the feature of Jay Ajayi against his former team. I think he was going to be one of the biggest secret weapons that you would have against the Dolphins, who had legitimately almost the worst run defense, and you don't use him. So there's a lot of stuff going on in the organization right now that just doesn't make sense to me. And a lot of it is going to have to be corrected in the offseason. I think the rest of this year, the only chance they have of making the playoffs is if they win out. They do have to beat Dallas week 15 and then finish off with a win against the Giants. If they don't do that, they're done for this year because Dallas will hold the better record in the division and the better record overall. Well, that's if we have to assume that they win out.
Yeah, sure.
But there's a lot more in this season that's lost than there is to gain. I don't agree with letting Deshaun Jackson go. I think he should stay. We should give him one more chance. Make sure that he is healthy for Carson next year. Jason Peters, sorry, buddy. You've made your Hall of Fame case. He should go in the Pro Football Hall of Fame as one of the best left tackles in the game. He should, and I'll give him that credit. Darren Sproles has a case of making it, but Mighty Mouse, dude, it was a rough ride for him. I feel bad that he got injured again. I know he wanted to prove himself once more, but that just wasn't going to happen. When you're at that size, your body gives up on you like at the snap of a finger that quick, trying to push through the years and years. I could go on and on and on and on, but I'll give the floor back to you since you're the host, and we'll give somebody else a chance. I know there's a lot of people in the live stream that would like to talk to you as well.
No worries. Honestly, I would counter and say some points, but I think you've wrapped everything up in a bow perfectly. That was, if we could give a little round of applause in the chat, that'd be amazing. Dude, feel free to plug your Twitter or something, because I'm sure a lot of people heard a lot of sense there. So if you want to plug anything right now, the floor's yours to do so.
That's all right with me. I don't got any connection. But
all right, man. No worries. Well, listen. Thank you so much for coming on. It means a lot.
No big, Liam. I appreciate you, man. Just glad to have the opportunity to actually talk to you, and with the rest of the subscribers, it was quite an experience. Thanks again.
No worries at all, man. Thanks for all your support. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep. All right. Cool.
There we go. Great stuff from Brandon. That was amazing. Look at that. So, Tom said start his own talk show. I fully agree. That was amazing. Before we get to another guest, I know we've still got a few more, so I'm going to be in for... I'll have to go make another coffee at this stage. But I do want to talk to, just a few of you guys in the YouTube chat that aren't in Slack. If you do want to join the Slack, there's a little link to that. Not Slack, sorry, Discord. They're both so similar. That's Discord, so that's where we all are. We've got, I think, 80 people in it at the minute. If you're not subscribed to this channel, it would be amazing if you could. We really want to hit 15,000 subscribers this year. That's always been the aim since day one in January, and we're now that close. So a couple hundred away, and your support would mean the world to us. And then we can do more cool things like this, right? That's the only way this happens is with your guys' help. Geordi says we should have a PSN fan or two a chance to write an article. It's definitely something we want to look at. It's just very difficult in terms of... I think that what we look for is quite specific. And it's I don't know. It's something I've considered a few times, but I don't want... I don't know how to describe it, honestly. because I think I don't want to end up overlapping too much or putting way too much, saturated content out, essentially. Because I know everyone has the same opinions, and it's just articulating them differently. It's tricky. We'll see. We'll see what we can work on, though. B-Max says, Philly fans have to stop giving Wentz satisfaction for almost winning. I don't think anyone's giving him satisfaction. You've got people on Twitter burning these jerseys down now for crying out loud. I understand what you're saying, though, with the kind of being let off the hook sort of thing. He's now being paid like a franchise quarterback. He has to be, expected to perform like one. And right now, he's struggling to do that on a regular basis. Donovan says in Madden, no one can stop my run. Just run the ball 3 times in a row. Yeah, and I think that Brandon hit it perfectly on the head as well, of saying that you've built an offense to run the ball and you're not running the ball. So that's the most astute, I think, synopsis of this offense I think we've seen in quite some time. Fly High 808 says, why should playoffs even be argued when the Eagles can't even win one? I think there's this ultimate sad reality of the matter is the Eagles can technically still make the playoffs. And I think there's a sadistic part of me that says, you know what, I kind of hope that they make the playoffs just to see what happens, because I don't think they deserve to make the playoffs. I don't think the Cowboys deserve to make the playoffs. If we could just rule out the NFC East from making the playoffs, I happily would, as a punishment for the abysmal play we're subjected to on a weekly basis. Unfortunately, I don't have that kind of power, but it's something we kind of have to look at moving forward. Like, it's a real shame when there are so many holes to pick out with this team. You don't even know where to start. You really don't know where to start. It's such a struggle to say, is it defense, is it offense, coaching, players? It's everything in one, and that's what's the most disappointing thing. I think you go back to 2016 and you look at how every year's progressed, and the criticisms that have come out have either been, it's this bit one week, it's this bit the next week, it's this bit the next week, it's execution, it's coaching style. Now it's everything. Now it is everything. Now you've got a case for gut everything and make a rebuild, get new coordinators, new players, new way of scouting, whatever it is, new way of setting the draft board. Like, I'm very excited to see how Joe Douglas's replacement can do as someone. I think Andrew Berry is his name, like formerly of the Cleveland Browns. He made some great draft picks for them during that weird transition spot they are in. I think he's going to have a big role this offseason, but it's going to take time. But they have to now gut this roster. So let's try and bring in a couple more people from the Discord server. I know we tried to bring in Isaac before and it didn't work. So if we try it again, is Isaac around now? Let's have a look. So the microphone's muted. You can see this is the beauty of live, I would say radio, television, stream, or whatever it may be. We'll see. We'll wait for the little microphone to pop up. But in the meantime, I'll keep going through your comments. So Mike D is winning the hearts of everyone in this chat by the looks of it, saying, I see receivers on other teams making amazing catches. The Eagles dropped the ball. Yeah, dude, you have to look no further than Devontae Parker for that. You really don't. Like, I mean, he has been on another level today. And I think he's a good receiver. He's been doing it all season. That he made the Eagles cornerbacks look silly, and the Eagles don't really have a wide receiver. Like, Devontae Parker's performance today is what Alshon Jeffrey should be doing much more regularly than he is. Like, this game you can write off because a lot of it, the Dolphins are kind of sitting back because they somehow got a lead late on it with chunk yardage situations. But Alshon in 50-50 catches has not been the same. He's not played like a number one receiver this year. And I don't think the Eagles have had a number one receiver this year. You know, Sean Flores says, what a terrible loss. BMAC says, sometimes you have to take accountability. 100%. 100% you do. And it's every player that's got to. And the fact that I think that one thing I've noticed after the game is that Jason Peters, Malcolm Jenkins, I think Jason Cowity was another one. Like, key leaders on this team aren't speaking to the media. It's just very, very weird. Like, I don't get what's going on with it. But whether it's a lack of accountability, we've been there with Chip Kelly, I don't know. But I think we've now got Isaac in the chat with us, who's shouting at me in the live chat. Oh no, hello. Hi, Isaac. Are you there?
Hello?
How are you doing? You alright?
Alright, there we go.
There you go. How are you doing? Are you surviving?
Just barely.
Okay, right. Well, how are you doing? Okay, I feel, again, I'll take the role of Eagles therapist. What's on your mind? Oh, hello. Hang on, my microphone's away. I'll take the role of Eagles therapist again. What's on your mind?
Alright, so just how, like, man, I really don't know what to say.
I'm glad we waited all that time to get to that point. I mean, I was the same before the stream. I was just like, should we just have a live stream where I just sit here in silence and just stare? Because that's how I feel. It's just empty. Totally devoid of anything.
Yeah, you know that one meme that you use, like, it's Goofy inside of, like, a tub?
Yeah.
Basically that's basically Eagles Twitter and every Eagles fan right now.
Yeah, it's been an emotional one for sure. I mean, it's just tricky to know, you know, like where we're going with this team right now. It really is. There's so much to worry about and to look at. Like, I think the off season has now become more important than last off season, which is worrying in itself. But I don't even know like where to pinpoint this, or so where to even begin talking about it right now.
I think we should pull Seattle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really do. I think we have to cut some really good players and just rebuild around Carson. I think, it's just sad that we've gotten to a point where we lost to the Miami Dolphins.
Don't say it out loud. Don't make it worse.
All right, but this offseason really has become important. And I feel like there's going to be a lot of firings, and I have a good candidate. I have, for OC, I have the other Harbaugh. What's his name?
Yeah, you made a compelling case so far. That's what we need. I get it. I think that obviously the recent game didn't go. I just don't think he'd want to leave Michigan, if I'm honest. I really don't think he'd want to. Like, he quit the NFL to go back to college. Like, he's been happy there. I just couldn't see him coming back. It'd take a lot of money, I think, to lure him back.
Yeah, but it's sad. We really have to really think about ourselves now. We could still go to the playoffs.
No, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it.
Like, nobody wants to say it, but just because of how bad the Cowboys are, how bad we are, and the fact that the Giants and the Redskins were out of the playoff conversation by the time it was Week 10.
I'm not being funny, though.
We might have a chance.
Like, at this point in the season, given that Washington have won today, it took Dwayne Haskins shouting at his offensive linemen saying, "What do you want me to do?" for them to kind of muster anything, which is fair play to him, like good leadership and stuff. But we've now hit the point, though, where they're 2 wins behind the Eagles. And if the Eagles are dropping to the Dolphins, and they're playing the Redskins again, and they're playing it's somehow now feasible that the Redskins can overtake the Eagles. It's somehow feasible. Right? And I would say, if you're going to 50-50 and say what's more likely, the Eagles going to the playoffs or the Redskins finishing higher in the division, I don't want to say either.
Yeah, you said it earlier to the other person, whoever it was, sorry. But just eliminate the whole entire NFC East from the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm not happy with it.
Whoever gets out of the NFC East is most likely not going to do anything. And if we get to the playoffs, we might... I know I just said this and I'm contradicting myself. But since Deshaun might be back, we might actually have a chance to do something.
I don't know. I don't think my heart can take it, if I'm honest. I really don't. Because all that would happen is if they go to the playoffs and do something, that all of a sudden it's that, you all doubted us, you all said we were bad. It's like, yeah, you were. Like, let's not write that. I couldn't. Oh, I don't know. Eagles Twitter would blow up if that happened. Like, it'd be amazing to see from a fan perspective, but I can't see it. From a logical standpoint, I can't. And the fact that they're now a game against the Redskins, the Giants are going to smell blood in the water. Every team is going to smell blood in the water now because of what's happening. And there's no worse media market to be in than Philadelphia at this point. Because if you're in Cleveland or you're in an LA or, I don't know, like even a Miami to a point where it's not a football team. I mean, the 2 biggest markets in America are New York and Philadelphia in terms of sports market. So you've got national outlets constantly. There's a lot of media attention. And now there's going to be so much of I guess negativity over the next week or so. There is no worse spot to be in. Like, you can get away with it in Miami. You can go for a beer, do whatever you want. No one's going to care. Sam Darnold goes for a beer after a win with the Jets and gets himself laid, and everyone hates him for it, and it's in a newspaper. Like, there's a difference in that. So I think that now this week you're going to see so much negativity that every other team is going to think, nah, we can have them. If Miami can have them, we can have them. And that's going to ultimately be the camel that, or the straw that broke the camel's back. I was going to say the camel that broke the straw's back, but, that'd be a very different comparison, I suppose.
I mean, when you're talking about the NFC East, you really can't be logical.
No, that's a very good point. Very good point.
I mean, the Cowboys, the way that it's playing out, if they win the East, they'll have to be 9-7 or 8-8 to win.
Right.
That is stupid.
I know, it's shocking. It really is, and I don't know. I just don't want there to be a situation where we're in week 15. But the Eagles can still make the. I don't want that. I just seal it now, get it over and done with. Like, and let's move on and think bigger picture. Like, because all that's going to happen would be. Imagine if this team has to face Seattle Seahawks again or the Niners. It would be demoralising. Like, I don't think anyone's ready for that. So. I don't know, we'll see. But I get the NFC East is that open that there is a feasible chance the Redskins can overtake the Eagles now. That's how bad it is. And that shouldn't ever be a thing.
That really shouldn't.
No, not at all.
Oh gosh, this is sad. Like, oh man, I was going to say something.
That's it. I mean, you've summed it up. That's it. That's how everyone's feeling right now,
Yeah.
It's not great.
Eagles, if the Eagles make the playoffs, do you think we're still going to, like right now, if the Eagles don't make the playoffs, we're probably firing half the coaching staff,
Right.
all of the medical staff, and maybe Jim Schwartz.
Okay.
If we make the playoffs,
Mm-hmm.
do you think we'll be firing as many people as we might be right now?
I hope so.
Right now.
I hope so. I think if they win a Super Bowl, I hope so. Because it's not been good enough. Like, it's still been... I mean, if they somehow, like, make the playoffs and beyond, and God forbid go to a championship game or further, right? Like, at the end of the day, this is the biggest waste I've ever seen of a season. Like, it's been pissed away for lack of... I know I'm the one saying don't be bringing naughty language on here and I'm saying the word piss, but, you know, like, it just has been. Like, every game, there's been meat left on the bone, there's been chance after chance after chance, and they've been squandered by offense, defense, coaching staff, everything. Absolutely everything. So, yeah, I would say if you get to the Super Bowl, brilliant, well done, but you've now got yourself into... just an absolute state. Like, it shouldn't have been this difficult. You should have cruised this division. You should have cruised this year, got to the playoffs. And even with the injuries, even with the noise, shouldn't have been this difficult. Like, it shouldn't be that difficult. So, regardless of whether you go on another miraculous run like you almost did last year, no, it's not good enough. It's just not good enough, you know? That's sort of like having a really bad relationship with a nice date. Like, one nice date at the end of the year for Christmas. You've had a good date. Brilliant, but the last year has still been horrible. Like, just break up, you know. And we're getting into podcast analogies now, which is how you know it's getting bad. But yeah, I think that would be the way I look at it. Like, regardless of what happens this year, it has to kind of go.
Yeah, it really does. Like, so like. Oh my gosh, I keep forgetting what I'm about to say. This season, okay, I got it. This entire season has just been disappointing. Yeah, you said it. Yeah, it's been this season for a lot of teams has actually just been a complete disappointment. For us,
it's not been well, and I think
it has.
The good news is though, the only way to look is up, kind of. As soon as it ends, I mean, for now we can still go a lot way worse yet, but bigger picture, it can still go up. So that's always a good thing.
I mean, this team had Super Bowl aspirations at the beginning of the season.
I know.
Everybody and their mother was saying the Eagles are going to the Super Bowl. The Eagles are going 13-3. The Eagles are doing this. The Eagles are going to do that.
Yeah.
We were going to get the number one seed. And there was no reason not to, right? No. Last time Carson had a real deep threat, we made it to the Super Bowl and won, right? Yeah. Carson didn't have a deep threat last season. Mike Groh didn't have any time. Like, I gave him, like, when you gave me during 2018, the offseason, I gave the play calling for Carson, like, I'm not sure I did the same thing you did, right? Like, Mike Groh didn't get to work with Carson, so, you know, Carson just didn't play well. This season just proved one thing. Mike Groh's bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that.
It proved it. Like, I'd be surprised if we demoted him to wide receiver coach, or because the fact that he's just been this bad at calling plays. I feel like the best Madden player in the world that runs the Eagles playbook.
I mean, even the worst Madden player in the world could do better at this point. It's just been shocking, and I think again we're going to be in until the cows come home, kind of talking about how bad everything is. And it's just, honestly, it's a real pain to look at, like, because the more you dive into it, the more reason for long-term frustration there is. And there's that more, we shouldn't be here. We shouldn't be having these conversations, regardless of whether it's coaching, players, or whoever. Like, I think that the overwhelming sense of disappointment is enough for everyone to just go, right, I've had enough, I'm out. But what we're going to do, we're going to move you back to the other channel. I'm going to bring in someone else just to want to try and make sure. I know it's getting late for me. It's going to get late, you know, for the primetime game soon. But thanks for coming on, man. Always appreciate it. We're going to get a couple more guys in, all right?
Yeah, thanks, Liam. See
Beautiful.
You, bro.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
See, I'm really bad at being a host because I will just have 50-minute conversations with everyone if I could. So I'm very sorry if people don't get to come on tonight. I'm very sorry. It's my first time doing this. All right, hey. We're trying our best to get as many of you involved as possible. That's the aim. Again, if you want to join the Discord server, there is a link right here. Not there because I haven't typed it yet. But I'll be on for a little bit more anyway. I'm not going anywhere just yet. So if you do want to come on, we've got some time. Derek Bukowski says, got to clean out the wide receiver corps. Can't even rely on Jackson anymore. Yeah, I think the chemistry's gone. It's another one. I don't know what's left. It just feels like an empty shell of what this team used to be. Derek says he exposed himself with his facial expression on that one throw. How many times do you think that's happened when Nelson goes back and talks? I don't know. I think any receiver's going to be annoyed at that. Charles says the medical staff sucks as well. What's going on with Jordan Howard? He never... Jordan Howard's had a history of injuries before. That's... Especially shoulder injuries, I should say. That was shoulder stingers, however you want to word it. That's not new. So that shouldn't come as a major surprise. Renee, who I know is one of our avid watchers, she's in every stream. I'm sorry I haven't got to mention your name before, Renee. I've been a bit busy kind of in the Discord, so thank you for tuning in. She says, she didn't say thank you, I said thank you. She said, chemistry is all off, pointing facial expressions and hanging on to last bad plays. What happened to short-term memory? Yeah, that's the thing. And I think there's only so much you can have until you start creating mental patterns, right? Of a case of, oh my God, here we go again. Receivers are feeling it. You've got the screen passes now where the same thing's happening. You've got Wentz missing throws. There just is that sense, a unanimous drop, someone has sucked the life out of this team. So it's really difficult to say. So we've got to bring on someone. Who haven't we had on yet? I think we've had everyone except 2 people. So I know Jay Fizzle Dizzle's on the first ever episode. Bring him in as a finale. We're going to bring in a disappointed guy, who I know is, it's the name's in the name, isn't it, really? A disappointed guy. I think he's a disappointed everyone. How are you, other than being disappointed?
Oh, man, I'm doing all right. I try not to get too down on these Eagles losses because I've been an Eagles fan for a long time, and I just expect them at this point,
Yeah, I think it's just kind of become par for the course at this stage, right? It's okay, we know what to expect. But yeah, what's on your mind?
So I just wanted to talk about the defense because I know everyone's going to blame the receivers and the drops and Carson and all this shit. Oh, sorry.
That's all right. Hey, I think we're past that point now. Don't worry, it's all good.
Yeah, sorry. I'm from the area, so I got a potty mouth. What I'm thinking is after these past 2 games in Seattle and the home game against the Patriots. Or wait, no, they're both home games, sorry. But the games against Seattle and the Patriots, we saw a different defense, I feel like. And I thought, and you put out that video saying that the defense was improving and we were on, so hopefully a new horizon where our defense could take us to a championship.
That went
well.
But
it feels like we've just gone back and regressed so hard.
Yeah, and it's hard to work out why. That's the thing. And I think... it's hard for me making film rooms because obviously I want something either positive or negative to say every week, because that's my job, to kind of get your attention and say, hey, this is actually going really well, or this is a little bit worrying, let's talk about it. And seeing how the defense works over a few weeks, you're right, surely now this is at least a positive sign that we are making adjustments and we are seeing Schwartz maybe just be a little bit more self-aware than we've seen in previous years. And that just didn't happen, did it, in the end? And I think this game comes up, and again, the only thing without seeing the coach's film that I can attribute it to is the fact that it's complacency. And they didn't expect Miami to get either that creative, or even worse, that when you've got Devontae Parker slashing you time and time again, why you wouldn't go into more zone coverage. We know that man coverage, we've all cried for it for a while and getting corners at the line. They're now being bullied by no one else, just one receiver. Do something to help out whoever's marking or Devontae Parker. That would be an adjustment. And I think for Schwartz, it takes a certain amount of punches to the head to go, oh, I should move now. And until there's that point, then nothing happens.
Yeah, and I don't even know I can't conceive how many times you have to see a 3-yard in-breaking route to beat your corner to finally adjust. How many times have we seen that throughout the season? How many times have we seen that throughout the years? It's the same thing every time, and I don't understand how it never changes. Except for the fact that it did change, but I almost feel like at this point it was solely because of the weather.
Yeah, but it's even that, and I hated to play this card because I wanted to believe, I think, so badly that, hey, do you know what? For me, in my mind, it was an article comes out slating Jim Schwartz saying that he's involved in personnel decisions after his defense is ruined for 8 weeks of the season. maybe that was enough because that came from another anonymous source or whatever in an article, which no one ever talks about unless it's a player. So now Schwartz has gone, not only is he bad at coordinating defense, but now he's got a hand in bringing Zach Brown in over Jamie Collins. That's bad when you've got a Pro Bowl linebacker in comparison to a guy that still doesn't have a team. Like, that's bad. So now you've got someone panicking going, right, well, I've got to change something. And in my head, it's like, that's where he's gone, right, this is enough now. Let's put all this stuff together, make a defense. And over 3 weeks, you've got someone that's really making the Chicago... It's not hard to make the Bears look like they're nothing, but he did that, sorted the Bills out, stopped the Patriots, kept them in it against the Seahawks. And the Seahawks game for me was like, that's the game. Because you can say Tom Brady is a little bit washed now and the scheme is bent around him, so he only has to throw check downs and have guys like Sony Michel help him out. Trubisky's awful, and Josh Allen and the Bills' offense was woefully inconsistent. So it was like, right, Schwartz has finally figured it out. On 3rd and long, they're not playing sticks defense anymore. They're getting guys up at the line of scrimmage, and they've got a 5-man front, and you've got Nigel Bradham, who's acting like he's going to blitz and pull him back, and that's messing with the head of Russell Wilson. That went out the window. I don't know where that went, but now we've got sticks defense on 3rd and 13, where Ronald Darby's giving it up again. And I don't know what happened, or if Schwartz just picked up the wrong notepad and looked at the wrong plan or what, but it was odd how quickly old habits came back.
Yeah, and just seeing our corners get mossed time after time. I don't know to whether to blame the talent or the coordination. I mean, obviously both are to blame, but I think it's got to be Schwartz, and I don't know how you fix the problem without just getting rid of the guy.
No, and I mean, there are flurries we can put them down to now where Jim Schwartz shows life as a coordinator and can get the right people in the right places, but I don't know, because at the minute, if you make a move within the next week and you get rid of him in the next week in a drastic sense to kind of set a tone, all that's going to happen is Matt Burke's going to take over, who literally ran the same scheme in Miami last year, and that went well. Like, that was great. That did brilliant, really. So that's not going to help. It's one of those things where even the people that outside they're bringing in now are only adding to, like, they're like yes men in a way. Like, Matt Burke has worked under Schwartz the majority of his career, goes and coordinates in Miami, ruins it, and now comes back to Jim Schwartz and go, yeah, that's a good idea. Like, we know, because you run the same scheme. And Mike Groh worked under Peterson, comes up, yeah, do that, that's good. Like, that's not working anymore. So they need outside voices to me. And I don't care whether it's good or bad, because even if it's bad, and you get some high school coordinator go, yeah, run 4 verticals every time, just keep running everyone vertically, just don't care, just do it. The Peterson's going to negate it and go, no, we're doing this. That's a sense of ownership. You know, even if he disagrees with the idea, it's something new that's been brought to the table to make him go, no, or yes, this idea is better. And if there's still no improvement, that's when you look at, I think, the bigger picture and the head coach. But as of right now, it's so hard to make a case for keeping either coordinator, I think.
Yeah, and speaking of Peterson and the defense, it's concerning to me that Peterson is seeing all this week in and week out. And I mean, obviously, I don't know what goes on inside of the facility, but you got to figure he's pulling Schwartz aside and be like, dude, like, we can't keep coming back from these deficits like this.
And what I really don't understand is that, I mean, I'm just a 24-year-old kid in England who watches the All-22 film and makes observations, right? Essentially, but if I was going to summarize my job in like a nice little nutshell, if I can notice things, and guys like Ben Solak can notice things, and he does a brilliant job of linking it to other Eagles games in the past, which is something I need to be better at. But like, Ben is amazing at breaking down film and spotting like old patterns that come up, or like, you know, all these other little niches that a lot of people miss. And Michael Kisty's great at it as well. And there are other film guys like Fran Duffy, who even works for the team, that can point these things out. If everyone can watch tape and say, this is working, hang on, that's not working, and that's been the case for 6 weeks, why isn't the coordinator who's going to watch that film every single day not seeing that? Or why aren't they adjusting for that? Like, if everyone else can see it and they can't, why? Or are they seeing it and choosing to ignore it? Or are they somehow having a Carson Walsh, Matt Collins parade for their own film? Like, I don't understand what it is.
It almost to me seems like a sentimentality thing.
Yeah.
Because obviously Schwartz was the coordinator for that, beautiful 2017 season, won the chip, everything. But what has he done for us since besides give us huge holes to fight out of? And, granted, like we've been saying, the past couple of weeks showed glimpses of hope towards something better, but it has just quickly reverted back to his old ways. And obviously, if we're talking about sentiment, we talk about guys like Jason Peters and Darren Sproles who have clearly stayed past their usefulness. And I hate to say that because I love both of those guys as players. So I just feel like because of how passionate the city is and our image, it's just hard to change. It almost feels like because we're the Eagles, it makes it harder for things to become different.
Yeah, I mean, that's odd. That's a very good point, and it's not something that I've heard tonight, which is just, again, it goes back to being that persona, and I think that the best way to link it would be when I was talking earlier on about being underdogs, that getting away from that and finding something new, it's a mentality thing. And to a lesser extent, like even I've had it, where all I wanted to do in life for the last 5 years was talk about the Eagles full-time and make this my full-time job, and the second I got there, I found it really hard to find. I mean, I was still obviously motivated and amazingly happy and all this other stuff, but trying to find a new goal, because all I wanted was that. And when I got there, I was like, well, what now? Like, okay, where's the aim now? And then I found, it's right, trying to make jobs for everyone else and building the brand out and all these other things, and it's great. But once you're in a suit, there's no greater feat than a Super Bowl. Like, at least with mine, I was able to go, right, okay, now it's focusing on the YouTube channel, it's focusing on this, it's doing that. You can't do that when you've won a Super Bowl. Unless you're Bill Belichick and you feel no emotion whatsoever, and you're a robot. It's very hard to hit the pinnacle and say, all right, what's now? Like, we've been underdogs, we've reached the ultimate goal, we've had the dream fairy tale, what's next? And instilling that is difficult.
Yeah, and I think that's where the personality thing comes back into play. It's because when Belichick recruits people, he's looking for people who are dedicated to doing only one thing, and that's winning a Super Bowl. And we keep guys around because they mean a lot to the organization, but I feel like we fail to bring in guys with that mentality almost. Mm-hmm. And that's got to be a coaching problem, because if you can't get your guys rallied behind one goal, and then obviously all the off the field stuff doesn't help, the anonymous sources and all that, but if you can't get your team to look past what they've been and get them to look towards what they can be, or what they're capable of, it just all falls apart so quickly, and we've seen that season after season since the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and it's a heartbreaking thing to say, but it's a conversation that, absolutely needs to be had. So I appreciate you bringing it up, man. I really do. Oh, I think my mic out then. There we go. It's radio problems, don't you worry. I just said, no, it's a conversation that ultimately needs to be had, and I appreciate you bringing it up, because it's something where, looking back in retrospect, you can kind of say, all right, well, now it's happening, and it's not an easy thing to say. Especially for fans who are passionate and diehards and in the area like yourself, because it's a way of life. And to look at it and say, all right, well, maybe this isn't the glitz and glamour we expected, and that there's probably something wrong with what we're doing here. Like, that's a harsh reality to accept. And
absolutely.
I think that if the coaching staff can just have a bit of it comes down to accountability as well, and say, look, maybe our decisions aren't working. And the thing is with coaches, as they should be, like whether it's any level, high school, college, football, the best ones in any walk of business are the ones who adapt, right? Without any sense of life. Like, so you look at any CEO, you look at Apple after, obviously, Steve Jobs and obviously Tim Cook and what they've done since. Like, it's the heads of businesses who adapt and change are always going to be ahead. The radio guys in life aren't the TV guys, because they stuck on radio. Like, no, don't want it. I am on radio, and that's hurt them. If you look at football, if you're not going to adapt your scheme, look at McVay now. And I don't want to put too much on that, but to a point where if you're not going to adapt and move something, Chip Kelly, a prime example number one, if you're not going to adapt and change and do something, everyone's going to catch up and overtake you. You can have all the glory you want, for a short period of time, but eventually someone's going to come up behind you. And I think now that if coaches, the best coaches in life, they will at the same time live and die by their own word. As they should. Like, they're 100% bought into what they do, and that's how they've got to where they are. But if something isn't working, you've got to have a sense of accountability to go, this isn't it. this isn't working. Like, the sticks defense doesn't work. Putting corners on an island against Devontae Parker doesn't work. Not running the ball isn't working. Like, something has to kick in where you put your own personal pride aside for the product and say, this is what's better for the team. And I don't know if they have that. I don't want to say they don't, and I don't want to wrongfully paint them in a bad light because I know the damage that would do. But I also think you can absolutely say it's not definitive that they don't have that problem. You know?
Exactly. And I, you hear Doug in the press conference every week, especially after a loss like this one. He's like, I got to look at myself, and he says that, and I hear that, and then the next week comes, and I don't see it on the field at all.
Yeah. It's talking's one thing, I think acting is another. Again, we're having life lessons here now. It is getting proper deep. But yeah, you can talk all you want, but unless you're going to back it up, it's nothing. And all we've heard for a season is he's trending in the right direction. This guy's day today. We're going to fix it. We're working forward. We're doing it. And then you get to Sunday and nothing happens. Yeah. And it just feels so routine by now. Where there's no point asking about injuries because all you're going to get is trending in the right direction. He's trending right direction. That's where he's trending in the right. That's all you get. So it's really difficult to again pinpoint anything. We don't know what's going on behind closed doors and how much is being changed or isn't going changed. But it's either way. Something has to now. I think we're past the point of saying, hey, I don't even care at this stage if there is an owner intervention. If we see Jeffrey Lurie into that locker room and get another 53 angry men situation, just something to bring a bit of life to this team.
Yeah, because there's so many disjointed problems that it feels like there's no unity, and beyond everything else, it just feels like this is a team completely disjointed. Nothing seems like it's working. Everything is in question. There's not one thing you can look to and be like, all right, well, at least we have this. Besides maybe Cameron Johnston.
And his iron leg. That's all that matters. If that's one positive we're taking, it's Super Cam Johnston, and we'll die on that hill.
Yeah.
But it's cool. Listen, Matt, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on. I'm going to try and throw it over to someone else because there's still 3 or 4 people I'm trying to get to. But yeah, you've raised some really, really good points there. So again, if you want to plug anything while you're on here, make sure you do it now because it's your chance.
No, I just want to say shout out South Jersey, all my people.
There you go. See? I'll shout them out as well. All right, thanks for coming on, man.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. See, this is cool. I feel like I'm an actual therapist for Eagles fans. Maybe I'm in the wrong line of work. Jay to the ROC, I love you too, man. Thank you for tuning in for so long. I know we've had a jumbo stream tonight when we're trying different things. I never knew how this was going to go down if you guys enjoy seeing different voices on and having fans and being part of this, but it's something I've wanted to try and you guys have requested, so just trying to do something new and have some fun with it. Again, if you're not in the Discord server, there'll be a link in the chat. I can put it in if anyone wants it. We're going to bring in someone else, so I know he tried to get in here before, and that's Christian Donahue. So, Christian, are you there? No, he's not. Okay, right, that one went well. We'll try that again in a minute. We'll see if he comes in again in a second. Rene Ballard says, with the same person playing next to you and then they get cut, maybe the players can't adjust to playing one different. Do you know what? You say grasping at straws. I think no one tonight has said anything that's irrational or doesn't make sense. You can counter it and you can disagree with it, but nothing that anyone has said, I've gone whoa, that's out of pocket. That's a bit far. And that's worrying. Because normally that's the case, right? We're Eagles fans. As a community, that's what we do. It's Nick Foles this and Carson Wentz that. That's the brand of Eagles. That's what we do. No one tonight has made an illogical point. So shout out all of you, whether you're in the live chat, whether you're in Discord, or just watching along at home. Thank you so much because you've all brought very rational, very understanding thoughts to the table. That's what makes you guys the best community in the planet by a mile. And we're very lucky to have you and call you a family for sure. So we're going to try Christian again. This is third time lucky. Christian, he's gone back out. Okay, he's not having it. He's a bit microphone shy. I'm kidding, he's not. Mike says, I kept thinking not paying Jenkins would bite them. He's disgruntled and wasn't he? Hey, I'm not disgruntled. I'm kidding. I agree with that. I think that's absolutely fair. And obviously now, if you're Malcolm Jenkins and you're seeing Brandon Brooks, Lane Johnson, probably Zach Ertz all getting extensions and you're not, you can absolutely understand why I'd be annoyed as well. Agree, yeah, don't want to hear them say it anymore. We got all we need. Yeah, that's the thing. Could get in the top 10, says Austin. I don't know top 10 of what. Top 10 most disappointing teams. Top 10 reasons for heartbreak. Anything negative, basically. Let's see if we can get someone else in there. So this is someone I know Jay Fizzle's been waiting for a while. Let's bring in Jay. Are you there? Hello, I'm sorry if I just grabbed you from conversation. How are you doing?
Oh, hey, what's up?
Has it happened again? Were you mid-conversation?
Yeah, we were all.
Oh, damn it. I've got to get better with this. Like, you were just talking and ripping you out. I'm sorry, man. How are you doing?
Oh, good, brother. How you been, man? Well, obviously, today was terrible, but how have you actually been?
I'm solid today, yeah. I've been alright. I've been surviving. It's all good. So, yeah, I always open up with what's on your mind. This is genuinely becoming a therapy stream, but yeah, like, I mean, so what's bothering you? What's got you down?
Well, no, we were literally having a conversation. We were just talking, like, just shooting the breeze, and I was asking people why is Jim Schwartz's name always the one that normally comes up when people go, somebody needs to go. Okay. I personally think Jim Schwartz has been doing pretty decent. Again, I forgot who was in the chat exactly saying, hey, like, when your DBs are playing so far back, but I was like, today is a perfect example where people were at the line jamming people and still getting destroyed. Sure. Jalen was getting exposed today. There's no way. There's no way a fan of rants about it. Like he was getting exposed today, and it was pretty bad. We haven't seen Malik Jackson yet this season, except for a couple of quarters. Maybe I don't even know if he made it 2 quarters, but a quarter, and he was out for the season. And then you lose Timmy for a good chunk of the season. You also understand that Fletcher Cox isn't playing all the way up to snuff until literally maybe about 3-4 weeks ago. So there's a lot that he has, and then hurt corners on a regular basis. Hurt linebackers on a regular basis. And again, I understand that you got to overcome that. You got to overlook that and everything like that. And I think Jim Schwartz is the greatest example of coaching with the talent that you have, trying to make the best of a situation. On this Eagles team.
Yeah, it's fair. It's so hard because I think it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? It's that in one aspect of it, you've got someone that struggles to adapt and then he finally does it and it bites him in the arse at times. I think that's fair to say. Like, a perfect example, Jalen Mills today. Then there are other examples when he adjusts and it works really, really well. Like Seattle, I think he called one of the best games I can remember. And because he shook it up and the Nigel Bradham implementation just caught me off guard completely. And like how all of a sudden he just went from being, it was his first game back as well, bear in mind. And instead of just being middle linebacker and roaming around, it was like, right, go pretend to blitz and just ruin the right guard all game and then we'll sting him later on. Like, that was what, and it was like, it came out of nowhere. Whereas this game, it just felt very reverting back to old habits. And I don't know, the only thing that changed to me was man coverage and pressing. But after seeing Devontae Parker just lap it up again and again, like, there had to be some sort of mental, like, questioning of going, right, well, can we move someone over? Can we just play zone a bit? Like, can we do something with Gennard? Like, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I was about to say, what could we have possibly done when your best 2 quarters by far are not getting the job done? And then also that, like, what are we going to do? Move Malcolm down? Malcolm was getting exposed in one-on-one coverage all game, too. So it's genuinely him just trying to play. It's literally like shuffling chairs around in Titanic. You just got to accept your fate.
I love that.
And try to save yourself.
That was I'm using that. That was great. Okay, that was amazing. The only thing I genuinely would have done would have been to probably just play more zone and have someone in curl and flat responsibility, someone just like in the middle part of the zone. I don't know, maybe like a cover 3, but having the linebackers branch, just force Fitzpatrick to just throw it into the turkey hole the same way Carson Wentz was to. Not that it would limit the damage, because at the end of the day, you're going to have bad corners over the top that are going to get boxed out, which is ultimately what was happening in press anyway. But you're going to force him to at least acknowledge underneath, and it might buy them time, which is what they weren't having. Like, I don't know. Again, I mean, it's easy for anyone to say, like, even me, and say, oh, we should have adjusted, they should have done that. The only thing I could think of would be just help someone like bracket coverage. Like, use Gennard Avery as someone that can get sideline to sideline, and you give him a bit of a bigger role. Like, I don't know, Captain Cravon come in once, like, rotating around with Maddox all game. If the Dolphins are using 7 DB sets, I don't see why the Eagles couldn't shake things up a little bit and just take out a safety and put in another cornerback. I don't know. It could have ended in tears anyway, probably regardless. So it's kind of pointless. But Yeah, I totally get what you're saying, and I think this is the first time we've heard the opposite, which is like, hey, let's just cut Shorts a bit, as like he was kind of let down today. And I think on that note, like the pass rush as well. I mean, Derek Barnett had hell of a game.
Eating.
Yeah,
Everybody was eating today. Like literally, starting the game, like, the pass rush was going crazy.
Yeah.
It was 2017 all over again. It was wonderful.
and you were thinking like, okay, hang on, they're going to bully their way through 4 quarters, and then it didn't happen. And you're like, oh, okay. But I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know. And then another thing the thing that really was making me upset today, especially about today, is it genuinely doesn't seem like we have. It doesn't seem like players are making the right play at the right time. Like again, not to put the whole game down to Zach Ertz making a catch, but that's literally what it kind of came down to.
It was 2 as well. It was, bearing in mind that he tripped in the end zone, and then obviously you had the drop later on. That's 2. And I don't want to, because bearing in mind he was injured. Like it was touch and go whether it be ready for game time. They brought up Joshua Perkins as an insurance policy, so I don't want to use that as an excuse. But to say he wasn't 100%, I think is accurate, and to pin it on him isn't fair. Like to pin it on Jake Elliott isn't fair after he made 16 consecutive field goals. Luckily, I haven't seen anyone say that yet, but I'm dreading the day that I do.
Are you talking about somebody putting it on Jake or somebody putting it on Ertz?
Jake, yeah. Ertz you can at least make a case for. I think Jake missing 1 field goal, you just, I should have been in that position to be that tight anyway. But yeah, I mean, so it's okay. So I'm very interested. Like, I promise, I'm not trying to pull some weird radio host BS and like make the fan look silly or whatever. Like, I'm not at all. But obviously, you made a very good point about Jim Short and saying that, you know what, let's take a step back. It might not be as much on him as we'd like to just easily pass in the buck to. What would you say about the offense? Is that the same because you've got drops and miscommunications and Wentz missing open throws, or?
This is a season, like I said before, this is a season of where it doesn't seem like people are being put in a position to where they can excel at. Again,
Right.
if it took till what is this, week 11? This is week 11.
Yeah,
week 12.
12.
Yeah,
12?
yeah,
12.
yeah. There we go. Week 12, where I lost count of time. I'm so frustrated. But look, it took us this long before we could actually start seeing more and more of JJ Arcega. Like, that's ridiculous. It took this long for this to happen. You've been having Nelson Aguilar play terrible all season. Granted, he had a really good game for himself this year today, and it ended up with us losing. But it wasn't his fault, and that's growth. And that's us making forward progress. But you see that he's struggling all season long, and it takes us until last week to move somebody up and get a Greg Ward in there. And then on top of that, I still believe that Matt Collins is decent. We just need to put him in a position to go, and especially on the team where we're deep threat and we don't use him to go down the field. It still just boggles my mind, but it is what it is. So that's why I would say, all right, man. It's for the most part the offense has been pretty healthy, and then you've had the same weapons all year long. Still not
that's a good point. I think a lot of people are quick to go, all right, well, there's no O'Shawn, there's no Nelson, Deshaun Jackson's out. On that same note, you've worked with Matt Collins for pretty much 9-10 weeks in a row now, and there's nothing.
Nothing.
And
JJ has been on your roster, healthy, ready to go. And he literally going back to, what was it, last week or the week before, he gets a play. And another, oh my goodness, there's so much. He gets a play, and then he has to come off the field after making a great play or making a big play. I forgot what catch that was. It was either the Patriots or...
I'm honestly distracted because it's not the only time it's happened. I mean, last year, I wrote an article last year saying basically where's Dallas Goedert, and this was 3 weeks into the season, where you draft a tight end, second round, after dropping, Dallas, great, brilliant, wicked, whatever. And then you've got Joshua Perkins receiving for 57 yards against the Bucs. And you're like,
it really doesn't make any sense.
Where the hell is Dallas Goedert? And then out of nowhere, late in the season, it's amazing, look at this. It's like, well, where was that when you're choking to the Bucs? Where was that when you're struggling against Carolina? Like, it's really hard, and it's not the only time it's happened. So it's like...
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
This is literally looking like it's Mike Grove's fault. And I'll raise you another one.
Okay.
Miles Sanders was having a day for a second.
Yeah.
You re-sign Lane Johnson. You re-sign Brandon Brooks, and you have arguably the best right side of any offensive line ever. And then on top, you don't run the ball against the worst ranked rush defense in the league. You have Miles Sanders healthy. You even with Jared Dye not being maybe 110% of what he what he used to be or whatever. You still have 2 healthy running backs who fit what you're trying to do if you run the ball, and we're not using them to our advantage. That's on the offensive coordinator, and that's also on Doug now, because that's bad play calling when you were forcing the ball. You can run the ball and you're not running the ball. It's that simple. I don't know why you're not running the ball. You're having success running the ball. I think Miles came in the game averaging 4.4 as far as yards per attempt, and he's the RB number 2 for most of the season. So he's getting 4 yards to carry, and he's the second one, and you're not running the ball like that. That just doesn't make any sense.
And do you know what? Like, I think on that note as well, while we're kind of playing CSI and connecting dots and stuff, I wrote an article. Again, I feel bad saying I wrote an article like I'm self-promoting. I promise I'm not. It's just that the other.
You see it too.
So from 2016, right? And I think it was at the end of last year that I wrote this. It's been the exact same pattern in the backfield, which is season starts off. You've got a backfield of committee, all right? You've got a pass catcher, you've got a downhill runner, you've got some middle guy, all right? That's typically the pattern it goes. Within 3 weeks of the season, you've got someone that shouldn't be running the ball being your lead back. Darren Sproles this year. Ryan Matthews 2016. I think LeGarrette Blount was barely used for the start of 2018 or 2017. Sorry. And then you hit a point where everyone's like, run the ball more, right? Got to run the ball, got to commit. There'll be a freak performance like Wendell Smallwood in 2016 against the Steelers, and everyone's like, wow, running the ball is brilliant. Look at Jordan Howard's 3 touchdowns earlier this year, all right? Then the Eagles start running the ball, and by the time they're just about committed, by the time they just work out they run the ball, they get decapitated by injuries. Every time. Ryan Matthews 2016, they had to go and get Jay Ajayi in 2017. 2018 was a mess throughout, and 2019 you lose Jordan Howard. It's the same pattern every year.
Here's the difference with this year, though. Miles is here.
We
have Jay Ajayi, and again, Jay Ajayi's not what Jay Ajayi used to be, but you have him. Use him.
Even on that front, like, I really don't think that was a good move. If you bring in a running back that isn't fully healthy, if that's the reason, right, and he's not played a game since week 5 of last year, and you bring him in to make a difference, when you've got free agent running backs who, maybe they're not Jay Ajayi, maybe they don't have sentimental value, but they could run a football in a straight line without it being hampering on a previously torn ACL, like, I don't get that. Like, surely there must have been another option you could have looked at first or brought in for a workout instead of going, Jay Ajayi won us the Super Bowl. Fans all love that. Good PR move. Bam. Bring him in. Like, if he's not 100%, and that's the reason why he isn't running against the 31st ranked defense in the NFL, that's a bad talent move. Because
I don't think it's necessarily about him being healthy. I think he's healthy. I just don't think he's back to football, back to being the player that he could be. If you, like last year, for an example, when Carson came back, he was healthy enough to play. He just wasn't playing up to Carson Wentz level. Right. If that makes sense.
Yeah, sure.
He's not the player that makes him. He's not the player that made him who he is. So in this situation, I don't think Jay is back to being like the running back that Jay Ajayi is. But you can't look me in my face and tell me that on a 3rd and 2 or on a 3rd and 3. Jay Ajayi can't get you those 3 yards. With the running backs that we have and the type of runner that he is. Even if he's not all the way back to him being the bruiser and the yards after contact running back, he can get you 3. He can get you 2, and you're not using him. Like, come on now.
And I'm not being. It goes back to what you said before. You've argued at the best right side in football. I think if you were running back, there could have been. I think my mic went then. But if you were running back, you could probably get those yards behind Brandon Brooks and Lane Johnson.
Look, I can have both my knees taken out right now, and I'm still getting those yards behind.
Right, and it's what's maddening to me as well is that the more people, like everyone that's come on tonight has had a different opinion, right? So sorry if I keep stirring. Like I'm trying to manage 2 different mic levels, and one cuts out and one doesn't. But essentially, like you've got people that are very adamant about defense, or people adamant about the offense, or running backs or receivers, and everything's logical, and it's pissing me off because it's all valid. Like it's not like no one has said anything where I've gone, whoa, that's not true. That's out of pocket. That's a bit far. Like there is so much blame to be passed around that you can make an argument for everything being a blame, and that's a bad sign.
That then comes down to the head coach, and then Doug needs to have a second where he has to look himself and his team in the face and go, okay, cool. We're not playing up to our talent level at all in any way, in any phase of this game. We're not playing up to our talent. Again, we can blame injuries as far as, but at some point, somebody has to come down and be like, okay, look, we have to get this unit playing to the top, playing at a consistent rate. You don't even have to be great; just play consistent. And we're not getting consistency anywhere on this team, and that's what's really making this so frustrating and so irritating. Is that we're also on the cusp of going to a playoff, and we have like a playoff we don't belong in at all in any way, shape, or form. And we're still like if you're looking forward, right? Let's just say we do end up with a playoff bracket. I think we end up getting a home playoff game because we're not in the wild card we wanted.
Right.
So let's just say if the playoffs ended today, it's going to be one of three teams. It's going to be either the Vikings, one of four teams. It's either going to be the Vikings, the Packers, the Seahawks, or the San Francisco 49ers, depending on how the West goes, right?
Right.
We almost beat the 49ers with the team that we have right now with no weapons. So we can go ahead, and win that game. The Vikings went ahead and obliterated us. Granted, we didn't have corners, plus that'll be a home game for us. That's a winnable game. We already beat the Packers. Granted, it came down to the wire, but we can go ahead and beat them. That's a winnable game. And that's what's frustrating the most for me is that we're in a position where we really could actually make a push. I mean, I don't see us beating the Saints. I don't really as of right now, I don't see us beating the Saints. The 49ers are probably going to be a really tough battle because that defense is disgusting. And whoever else is in the playoffs, I can't even think of them on the top of my head. But as far as getting past the first round of the playoffs, we could do it if we could just find some doggone consistency somewhere on this team as a cohesive unit, and we're not getting that. And that is the most frustrating thing for me, right?
Yeah, 100% agree.
We're that good, and we're still having problems. It's oh my god.
I mean, they're shooting yourself in the foot, and then there's this. I mean, the best quote I've seen tonight, though, someone just had a minute ago. So Almighty Zay said, "You kind of sound like Nelson," which I think is made my night. So if you're a Nelson Aguilar burner account, this is the time. You know, if we finally solve the mystery.
It's me. It's me. It's a lot going on, but it's a lot going on and nothing going on at the same exact time.
Yeah.
Literally, it feels like this all could be easily fixed with some people going, okay, cool, let's strip everything down and then start implementing things one at a time. Let's go with the logical thing. If we're playing a team that's bad at the run and we have an amazing offensive line, how about we start running the ball?
Yeah.
Hey, if we have problems with receivers getting catches, how about we move somebody around and play them to the position where they can be able to use their talents to the best of their ability and everything like that. If we have a tight end who's hurt, if we have Zach Ertz who might not be 110%, how about we sit him down, put Dallas Goedert in the spot who is 110%, and then go ahead and put Josh Perkins in also if we're going to act and go ahead and sit him down. There's nothing to win in this game against Miami. I mean, obviously we had to win it, but still, there's really nothing to fight for in this game that losing Zach Ertz or having him out there at 100% is worth it, because again, it literally costs us the game putting him out there.
Yeah,
and he's not all the way right. It's just bad decision making, literally from all the way around, except for all the way to Jim Schwartz again, I think.
And the thing is, right, like if every decision is a 50-50 and you treat it like a game of blackjack, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you lose decision after decision after decision, it soon becomes consistency, and maybe you've got a gambling addiction. Do you know what, like, there has to become a point of like, hey, I've either won a lot of money and this is great, or, oh my god, I've got to tell my wife we've got to sell the television. Like, there is, do you know what I mean? Like, if every decision's 50-50 and you keep making the wrong one over and over, just stop playing and do something else. Like, go and play roulette. Like, have a bit of fun. You're right, and it's that the only consistency this team has is inconsistent decision making, and that's bad.
That is now management problems. That is now coaching problems. That is now people having to look and have a conversation. Again, that was the one thing last time I talked to you, said that is a major thing that we have to watch out about. Well, we're kind of looking at that point in the mirror right now. And again, we got away with it last year because we got a playoff win. Like, these were the problems that we had last year: the injuries, the questioning of decisions made, the play calls made. This is something that has just grown on it. And now we have a better roster. Granted, it's hurt right now, but it's the same thing that was going on last year.
Yeah.
And it's getting bad now. Like, there's no way in the world you can look me in my face and tell me that the 2-9 Miami Dolphins came to play against us and beat us out. Like, that doesn't... How?
Yeah.
How? That's coaching. That's all coaching.
No, 100% agree. 100% agree. And listen, man, honestly, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. I think we got one more guest. I'm going to try Christian again because, bless him, he's been trying all night and we can't seem to get it to work. But honestly, I really appreciate you coming on, man. Thank you for talking a lot of senses. You've got a 100% track record of doing now. If you want to promote your Twitter or anything, I'm more than happy for you to do so if anyone wants to go and follow you for Eagles Chatter and stuff.
It's JDOTRELL. So it's at JDOTRELL. And then, so go ahead and go over there. That's my Twitter. All I do is just tweet about Eagle stuff and say random. So if you
that sounds like a good follow. That sounds like a good follow. You sold it well.
Like I said, I always appreciate talking to you, brother. I love the Discord. Love talking to everybody. Like, it's crazy that every time you click me in, I'm literally having a conversation.
Yeah, I've got to work on that. I'm playing hard to get. That's all. Like, but I appreciate it, man. Have a good night, and hopefully this won't stress you out too much.
Yeah, have a good night, man. Have a good Sunday, brother.
You too.
All right.
There we go. All right, so I think we're going to try Christian one more time in a second. Before we do, let's just see what you guys are saying. It's mad there are still 48 of you in this stream. We've been going 106 minutes. All right, this is like a record, I think, for the longest stream that we've had. Let's just try Christian one more time. I believe in Christian. I believe this is going to work. I'm going to will it into existence. He's been trying all night. If he doesn't, I'm going to pretend to be Christian and put on a somehow even higher pitched voice. And then I can have a conversation and pretend. It's not working again. I'll keep trying. Chat, we can get faith in Christian. I believe this will work. Come on. I believe with everything I've got. It's gonna work. It's gonna work. No, it's not. Oh, I'm sorry. We'll get him next time, guys. On that note, hang on, the mic's unmuted. We'll try again. Third time in a row. Okay, is it there? There's movement.
I'm in here.
We've done it! We did it! How are you doing? Thank you. I almost went. But I saw the mic move. I was like, no, he deserves it. We need the shot. Christian, he's been trying to get in all night. Bless it. Thank you for sticking around so long. You've got to be even more stressed than you were at the end of the game.
You know what? I got some time to calm down, but Jesus Christ, was that a mess.
Well, what part? The waiting to get in the call or the game?
The game. The waiting to get it in actually calmed me down. The problem I'm having is we're just starting to realize the team is not as good as we think it is. I mean, that's the reality of it.
Right, yeah. It's a harsh reality as well.
It is. I mean, and the coaching, they have to know how to coach when handle. You see Dolphins starting to come. You're still keeping the safeties up. You're putting the safeties. I mean, the safeties were obsolete this whole game. They were nowhere to be found. You know, the secondary, you got Mills on Gesicki one play, backfired completely.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, I mean, Barber called it the best during the game. If we cover deep, they're going to go small. If we cover short, they're going to go long.
Yeah.
So if the Dolphins are figuring this out that quick, everybody in the NFL is going to figure this out that quick.
But I think that's been the case for a while, though, with this defense. Like, I really do. I mean, and, you know, you look across the board, whether it's cornerbacks or whatever, especially on defense, that there is that pick your poison mentality. That whatever the Eagles present, because of the scheme, like, that's the ride or die, I think, with this scheme in particular, or any 4-3 for that matter, is that you've got such a rush up front that you're going to leave yourself vulnerable in the back end. If you stack the back end, you're vulnerable up front.
Yeah.
So you've got an amazing run defense and a worrying pasty,
I think one of our biggest issues is, you know, we're riding a high from 2 years ago. We're not making moves that are needed. You know, without Joe Douglas, I don't think Howie is as good as we put him out to be. For the past 2 years, the D-Jax move, yes, it's a great move, but he is injury prone. We know this. Every year the guy is out.
Right.
So it was good, but what do we do to bring back? What do we do to combat that?
That's it. I don't think that the moves in particular are bad. I think there's a move and there's no contingency plan. Like, there was no insurance plan behind D-Jax. Jordan Howard, there wasn't a contingency plan. Zach Brown, there wasn't a contingency plan. Sendejo, there wasn't a contingency. And it's like, you don't have like players underneath that are ready to step up, which is why this team in 2017 was so good. And it looked set because behind Patrick Robinson, all of a sudden then you go and draft Devontae Maddox. And you're like, right, okay, now there's life, and you've got the conveyor belt moving, which is how this, I guess, prove-it deal contract concept should work. And now it's not. And the draft, they brought in virtually no one. They're like 5 selections, and obviously Thorson's gone. There aren't many guys behind that. And I don't know whether it's a talent acquisition thing or it's just trying to keep around players from yesteryear. Like, they stacked on running backs for Sproles and they really didn't have to. And Clement has done nothing this year. He shouldn't really be there. They kept 2 tight ends on the roster, which I'm amazed. If there's one thing I'm amazed about, is that hasn't been in the mini hour sooner. Like, that's abysmal. I think there's only 2 teams in the NFL that don't have at least 3. The Eagles have always kept 4. And that's how Trey Burton developed, he was an undrafted free agent in 2014. They kept 2. And this is a team that relies so heavily on 12 personnel and running the ball. The fact that you've only got Ertz and Goddard, if one goes down, you're screwed. And I'm very, very surprised that hasn't come around to bite them sooner.
Oh, he was supposed to be out today, so we got
I guess
we could say we got lucky. But the one thing that the Eagles always had, so the one thing that drove me nuts last year and prior, is we had that kind of gimmick where we got to win, for the backup. But it wasn't ever really there. 2 years ago, it was there. But the one thing the Eagles always had was the defense would give up the play. But the offense would come right down back on the field, march down the field, and get that touchdown right away, or the 3 points.
Yeah.
They're not doing that now because defenses are like, the hell with it. We would rather you throw that damn ball.
Yeah.
That's the reality. The defenses are like, we're just going to crowd. We're going to shoot in. We'll have our guys. We're not going to double cover anybody. Remember, 4 games ago, Zach Ertz was getting double covered.
Mm-hmm.
It's single coverage on Zach Ertz now. It's insane. And we're still not producing. Especially against the Dolphins.
Yeah, I think that's the hardest pill to swallow. It's annoying. For me, I think I said it. Oh, I go, no, because you'll drop like the first comment on every video and like, oh, my mic's gone. Oh no, it's not working. Oh, it's chopping. Hang on, there we go. Sorry, my mic's playing up. This is, but like I said, you'll know in particular because I know you watch like everything we put out, and I'll get all soppy about it in a minute, I'm sure. But I said this. I was like, this is an identity game. Like it or not, like you bully the Dolphins into the ground, you run on them, and you say, hey, we're an offensive. I don't care if they're 2-9. You go out after that Seattle game and you prove a point, and you bully them for 4 quarters, and you find that underdog mentality of, hey, do you know what? Even if it's inaccurate and it's wrong, the world doubted us. Everyone put us down. We've had all this adversity, and we're back again. This is the game it comes out. And instead, you just do, for a really bad comparison, Anthony Joshua versus the Ruiz guy.
Exactly.
Just
about to say that. Yep.
And you go in and you get punched around and you get a bit complacent, you take a hit to the head, and it all backfires. And now I don't think there is a way back for it. This season, in my mind at least, is a write-off. And if they do make something of it, fine. I hold my hands up and I was wrong. But there is no way that if I'm betting $100,000 on this team to win, that I'm taking that money anywhere outside of my house. Like, it's staying firmly in a locker somewhere.
I agree. Let's be honest here. Not only did we lose to the Dolphins, we let them put up 30 points on us.
Yeah.
Devontae Parker had a historic game against us. Last week, our defense was shutting everything down. This week, they put Devontae Parker at 2 touchdowns, 150 yards on us?
Yeah.
Because they attacked. If the Dolphins are able to do this with Fitzpatrick, let's be honest, we make that playoffs, which would be great. I would love to see it, but the reality here is if Fitzpatrick can put that on us, I'm pretty sure Drew Brees can put that on us. I'm pretty sure that Garoppolo could do that. I just think it's and next year I get to worry that we're kind of screwed here because we are such an old team that we're going to lose a lot of pieces. We wouldn't make much moves right now to combat that, and then next year we're getting rid of everybody. We're losing a lot.
Yeah.
We're going to have the second oldest team or the first oldest team because we brought them back.
I think someone said it best earlier with where the Eagles need to go and do it Seattle now. And they have to get out. Seattle had the same thing with a lot of criticism about Russell Wilson and his ability and all this and the other, and the Legion of Boom started to fall apart a little bit. and the whole Legion of Gloom thing happened, and they had to rebuild and look at the way, as opposed to, it's really weird with the Super Bowl. You either have a Super Bowl hangover like Denver or San Francisco, you're the Patriots who just drink, hair with the dog's back, where you go and you drink again and you just keep going, and that's sustainable. Or you have a Seattle thing, where it's not quite a rebuild, it's just more of a remold, and you've got to remold the identity. And I don't think that the players currently on the team have got that same... Again, it's really hard to put a pinpoint on what it is, but there's something that's not right. Whether it's players who are wrongfully angry at Carson, whether it's the anonymous sources and stuff, like someone has got to look at that locker room and say, this position isn't producing, why not? And just clean slate and get guys that aren't fully bought into what they're doing right now, not what they did, not what you achieved, not the money you've earned, the money you earn in the future. Like, if you're not bought into that, then go. And it has to be like that now. And you look at the cornerbacks, they're in a weird position where those starting cornerbacks will be free agents. Even Nate Sudfeld and Josh McCown are going to be free agents. Halapu Lavati Vaitai is going to be a free agent. There are names that should be at least firm backups on this team. They've got a chance to really kind of dig deep and gut this team if they want to. If they do or don't, that's obviously not on me, that's on a GM, but I think they should at this stage.
I think another thing that could kill us next year, too, is if Kelsey does retire. He's talking about it this year. If he retires, he may be an undersized center, but find another center that can pull a block and be 5 yards down with your running back.
Yeah, you can't. He's a generational talent, without a doubt.
To lose.
Yeah.
He gets some big guys, and he protects well. It's rare that Wentz is getting attacked in the middle.
Yeah.
And if we lose him, that is a hell of a piece to lose. And we have not prepared anything for that. Other than thinking, Howie's really got this offseason has to be really like what you said. It needs to be a mini mold. It needs to be kind of like a remold.
The good news is, though, for anyone buying Madden 2021, it'll be a fun save to do it on franchise mode, right? Sorry, my mic went out again there, Christian. But I said, the best thing is, though, if you play Madden, it'll be a fun save on franchise mode next year, right? That's a positive we can say. They'll be fun to play around with. But you're right. I think there has to be a top-to-bottom examination of this team that it's not good enough. From players to coaching staff to talent acquisition to scouting. It's been, I think, drastically overrated by the fact that you look at the team on paper going into the year and that Olshon was this and they achieved all that and now they've got better at every position without really looking at what matters. And I think that soccer is a great analogy for this. I know Rob's in here, so Hoodie House in the YouTube comments, he'll probably call me up on this for being wrong. But, I think that you can have all the talent in the world. If you can't coach it, it won't get better. It's one thing having the talent. If you can't mould that talent and you can't keep morale high, it won't get better. And Manchester United, for me, have always been a prime example of that recently. I don't know how far your football knowledge goes or not, but it's the same thing. It's spend all the money you want on players and they don't show up. And it's like, well, is it coaching? Is it not? And it's ultimately, it's got to fall. The apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. And I think there are going to be some surprising moves come this offseason for sure.
I agree. So here's my thing. At what point do we actually start, and I'll just kind of leave with this, what point do we actually start thinking about kind of removing Howie Roseman? I know it's not the popular thing here.
I would say not.
And then halfway through next year, there's got to be a point where it's like, all right, we're not trending the right way here. Since the Chicago era ended, we got a Super Bowl, don't get me wrong. That's awesome. But we've also we're trending the wrong way. Yes, we lost our quarterback, but Foles did pretty damn good stepping in. So we can't really...
I don't know. I think in terms of, you won't find a better cap manager than Howie. And you won't find a team with a better base than Howie now, than the Eagles to build on. If you go to any other team in football, very seldom will you find a right tackle for 4 years, a right guard for 4 years, a quarterback for 5 years, defensive tackle for a few. You don't have that stability inside to mess around with this remold. Without Howie, you won't have that. And you'll have money invested at wide receiver that shouldn't be there. You have money invested at a cornerback that's fading out. And that's the reality, that there are teams that build through the trenches. There are teams that build with stars. And I think it's very underrated that the Eagles, or Howie's very underrated in that fact that building through the trenches, it's not sexy, it's not marketable, but it works. But it's because of that, it's in a position where you can get rid of I'm not saying, no, you won't, but like a Deshaun Jackson or a Jalen Mills or a Ronald Darby or a Malcolm Jenkins if they wanted to go that far, like without there being a significant cap deficit. So it's a double-edged sword. You can look at very recently and say, hey, why is Arcega-Whiteside not been put on the field? What happened to Sidney Jones? What happened to this free agency class? Like, this 2019 free agency class especially, he should absolutely get finger pointed for. And I think that's why the article on Schwartz came out, to take some probably de facto wind out of the sails, because he was going to get slated for it. It's been, I don't think there's a single member outside of Malik Jackson who's injured of that 2019 free agency class left. So that was bad. Like, that's on Howie. That's woeful. Shouldn't have happened. But then the rest of it, in terms of cap management, you just won't find better. And trades, you won't find better. So, like, Howie's safe in my mind. It's anything below that. And if there's still no continuity, that's when you go at the top.
Yeah. Like, don't get me wrong. I don't want Howie out of here. But it's, you do.
You've got to question it. And I think you're right to, as a fan. Like, and I think
you got to think: is it Joe Douglas or was
Yeah.
it Howie? And we know Howie when it comes down to when we were doing that free agency. Was it 2 years ago, 3 years ago? Alshon draft, we didn't even talk about him because he was worth so much. He costed too much.
right.
No one was expecting Alshon Jeffrey to be on our team. So Howie is a genius when it comes to moving money. It's just I worry about making the call. Like next year, I mean, this year, I'm not blaming Howie for this year at all. This is a heart issue. This is not a coaching issue. This isn't necessarily a GM issue. Looking at today's game is a perfect example. One, it drives me crazy that our offense and defense cannot perform together.
Yeah.
But it's brutal when you see them coming back, when you're seeing the Dolphins coming back, and there's nothing, there's no heart, there's no fight. There's a clip on the sideline where everyone's laughing. You're down by 12 points. And
And you can even argue that the celebration of a turnover when you're down 14 the other week, that was a significant thing that everyone kicked off. And I think you're totally right. I think the main conclusion is that I think there is so much wrong with this team. The natural point is to the top of the tree, which would be Howie Roseman. And I don't think fans are at fault for doing that. What I do unfortunately think will happen, though, is that Sports Talk Radio this week, and probably a few articles, and there'll be more anonymous sources that will come out, and they will come for the jugular, and they will look at Howie or Doug. And I'd like to think that this fan base, or at least our little community, is rational enough to talk about it logically. I don't think we're going to see that this week. So my advice to everyone would just be try and ignore as much of that noise as possible, because it shouldn't be relevant. I think to have a discussion about it, absolutely. There's no need to go for Howie just yet, but everything else needs questioning.
Oh, without doubt. Like I said,
of course,
we're just not a good. We're not a good team.
No,
I mean that's the reality of it. The defense is there. Wentz, he looks like a different player.
Yeah.
They want him out of the pocket. They want him in the pocket regardless. When he's supposed to get out, he doesn't get out. When he's supposed to get back, he steps in too deep. He's got to start letting these defense fear him a little more. He needs to, I wouldn't say run, but he needs to get out of there.
Yeah, and I genuinely think that's what they tried to do, like today, with the amount of rollouts that they had and design quarterback rollouts. I think they tried to just buy him that openness where it feels like he's escaping pressure. And almost like simulate it in a way. If you're moving around, there was one play where he rolled back across the other direction. So he rolled out one way and then span right, which I didn't think there was any need to do whatsoever. But he did it anyway. And it's like he needs that in a way. So I don't know. There are definite questions at every spot. And I'm going to have such a heavy workload this week thinking about it because, oh my gosh, there's so much to talk about.
Where do you start? And that's the thing. I think the one thing that's killing everybody right now, all Eagles fans, is you had your Pro Football Focus came out, best receiving core of the NFL, which no one really agreed with.
Right.
But then you're seeing the Cowboys just giving us opportunity after opportunity, and we're just squandering away. And I think we want the playoffs very bad, which is not a crazy thing for any fan. But the reality is and to the other point, Dolphins played pretty goddamn good today. They played like they wanted to win. Fitzpatrick was on fire today, which is a crazy thing to say. It sucks that it was against us. Maybe it's a one-time thing, but then, like you said earlier, we have the Redskins winning. Now do we have to worry about losing to the Redskins? Are we gonna
It's
get
logical,
beat by
yeah.
two many teams, you know?
And the thing with Fitzpatrick, though, is that he's always been streaky. Like, he's always red hot or ice cold. There's never an in-between.
Yeah.
He's either on you and it's 10 touchdowns or it's nothing. And there is no conscious with him. Like, there is no, like, ticker that goes, this is a good throw, this is a bad throw. It's going there anyway. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And I think against the defense that, in my opinion, played complacent and without an identity and lacked anything, it was going to work. And just as it did against the Buccaneers. Like, they came out flat there and look what happened. So, it's something I think we've just kind of become accustomed to when playing Fitzy, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Fitzpatrick's got a number.
Yeah.
It's like the equivalent of Larry Fitzgerald every time we play him.
Oh, don't remind me. Don't. Thank God we're not playing Arizona. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, of course. But listen, man, I'll let you guys let the next guy on. I appreciate you taking my call, man. I really enjoy your videos, and then I will talk to you next time, brother.
No worries at all. Thank you for being so persistent, because I know we had some struggles early on, but honestly, man, it means a lot that you take the time to watch our videos and to comment on every single one. So thank you for being a part of the fun.
No worries, man. I'll talk to you later.
Talk to you soon, man. You too.
Later.
And I think that's it for the Discord. We've been on normally this show is an hour, right? So if you enjoyed this show, right, let me know, because this is something totally different. We wasn't going to do this today. We weren't going to come out and have a million people on, but we wanted to experiment with having call-ins and seeing if it could work. So if you enjoy this and having your voices heard and seeing what other fans think and having this discussion, do let me know, because it's something obviously we want to try and continue in the future and implement into more videos as well. We'll have one more quick read of the chat before I pass out. So Sexy Vegan, good name, fair play to you. I noticed that Liam Fitzpatrick is the most bipolar QB ever, or Liam Fitzpatrick is the most bipolar QB ever. I think the first option is way more intriguing, only I can't grow facial hair. Monte Cristo says fully needs to be an aggressive defense. That's what we've always been before Schwartz. I mean, Schwartz's defense is aggressive, and I think that's what hurts him. Like, the pass rush 8 today. I think Derek Barnett had 4 quarterback hits, Like, it's an aggressive defense. Just on the back end, it can sting them sometime. Malik Jackson, Deshaun Jackson, I think we're talking about blue chip prospects there. I think there's been nothing major that I've missed in the chat. I've been keeping an eye on it. So I think we should be all good, unless there's anything drastic that I've missed. Brandon says, thanks again for coming up anytime, man. The pleasure's all mine. So on that note, guys, firstly, a massive, massive thank you. If you're not in our Discord yet, there is a link on the side of the chat, so you can join that. We've got close to like 80 fans in there at the minute. We would love for you to be a part of it. The idea is we can have watch parties, that we can have all sorts of fun, giveaways, you can join videos like this. We just want to build the community together. Like, we're close to 15,000 subscribers. We want to bring all of you together in as many ways as possible and make Philly Sports Network something special. So it's not just a blog, it's not just a YouTube channel. We want to be something integral to having a community and giving you guys a home, because I say it every week. That was a loud email, but I say it every week, this is the first place I ever felt home. Like, in terms of like work and school and friendship groups and stuff, like, this is the first time I can be 100% myself with you guys. Been doing this for 5 years now, like the YouTube channel, and running phillysportsnetwork.com. And I think that having you guys involved in that is what makes it special, because to think this many people will be watching a stream 2 hours after such a heartbreaking loss, I'd never imagined it possible. But without you guys, there is no Philly Sports Network, and we always want to be built around you and what's best for you guys. So everything we do, week in, week out, is 100% to make sure you guys are happy, to bring you the best content we can, to not bring you clickbait articles, to not bring you videos that are uninformative. We want to bring you as much valuable content as we can, and that's always been the aim. So the fact that, to a degree, that's working, I think, for the most part, it's a blessing and a half. So just thank you so much. Also, on that note, I know a few of you have asked in streams before, today is actually the last day you can get Black Friday discounts on Philly Sports Network merchandise, alright? So I don't know which one's more, it depends what you buy. I'm not going to make you buy anything or ask you to, but for those interested, if you use the code HOLIDAY20 in capitals, you do actually get 20% off your order. If you use the code CHRISTMAS, you get 10% off, right? No, $10, I should say. So the ugly Christmas sweaters that you wanted are now actually on sale, all right? And they're on sale here, which I'm going to leave for a minute, because otherwise it's like I'm randomly spamming merch. But there it is. If you want to get anything PSN related, that's where you can do it. And on that note, guys, again, just a massive thank you for being part of this, because it will never not blow my mind, and I'll never not be thankful for this sort of opportunity. You know, like I love more than anything in the world just making content for you guys, interacting with you, and knowing that there's a little home for you as well. And that together we're just this one massive, passionate community where we can make new friends, we can make new connections, we can watch stuff with fans. Like, I just want to take this as far as I can. And for you guys, like, giving me that chance, 2019 has been a roller coaster for me. And you've been the guys kind of driving me forward. Like, without your support, your hate at times, the stick to soccer comments, like whatever it may be, you're the engine that keeps this thing going. And you're like the little caffeine injection that I need, and that really does fire me up. So you are the best fan base, best family, best community, however you want to present it on the planet, without a shadow of a doubt. And I'm so lucky to call this community a home. So thank you for all of the support. If you are new around here, hit the subscribe button. If you're not new, thank you for being subscribed. Again, daily Eagles content is the aim, and little live streams on a Sunday crying about losses of the game, I suppose, for lack of a better rhyme there. But honestly, from the bottom of my heart, you just blow my mind every single week, and I'm just so thankful for you. I know a lot of YouTubers or other writers or whatever, like, they'll just put content out and then that's it. It's like, hey, here's an article, and it's a really sassy tone, and there's never an interaction. Like, for me, without people reading my stuff or watching my stuff, there is no point in me reading or writing it. Like, I would be still doing a job that I really dislike. So, like, for me, it's given as many people opportunities to be part of this community as I can. Whether that's on a website, whether it's streams, whether it's articles, whether it's podcasts, like whatever. I'm never not going to be thankful for that. And I wish more people were in touch with the people that read and watch their content, you know. But I know I've rambled for like 5 minutes. You can tell I've been doing this for 2 hours now. But just know that you are beyond appreciated at Philly Sports Network. So thank you for coming on, for giving me like 2 hours of your evening after a loss. I know Sunday Night Football's coming up, so go and enjoy that. Try not to get too emotional about the Eagles. There'll be content out tomorrow and the day after. From myself, Liam Jenkins. My Twitter's at Liam Jenkins PSN if you want to follow it. I'll see you very soon. There's This Week in Philadelphia Sports tomorrow, as long as I still have a voice left. And just thank you for being incredible. There's no other word for it. You blow my mind every week. So thank you for being you. Hope to see many of you in the Discord chat, and we'll see you soon.